today there is a shift in the ecosystem that we have, and this ecosystem is not only on social enterprises, startups, but also corporates, is that there is a drying in terms of funding sources. So, and without funding sources, without being ready to do it, and without maybe questioning whether you have the right model, your ability to be able to survive is going to be limited. So when Fouad and I discussed it, we had last year a course on entrepreneurship, also very successful behind. So we decided to start on this. We're going to have a series of other of these executive programs so as to provide you the ability to be able to prepare yourself on questioning your business model. Is this the right business model that you have? And also, how do you need to do to prepare yourself so as to be able to convince investors to come in, whether for grant, whether for debt, whether for equity. And we believe this is at the essence. And the way we will do it, before I pass on to Professor Zmorkhol, is it's a combination. You're going to see a series of templates. These are templates that hopefully will be of use to you. Maybe not all of them now, part of them now, part of them in a year or 2 years down the road. The second dimension is not only the templates, it's how these templates are being used in organizations that we have been working with over the past 10, 15, 20 years. So, so we will show you how these templates are being used. The third element behind it is we will have experts, CEOs and others, who have used the templates and who have used the process to share with you their tips, their learnings, so that you could learn and benefit from them. So it's very hands-on. It's templates that are here, how these templates are being used, how are the people using the templates are here, and what sort of tips they have to give you. And at the end of the day is to be able to plant the seeds with you so that when you are ready, we're here. USG is here, la faculté de management et de gestion est là, in order to be able to accompany you. Because at the end of the day, it's not only about the templates, it's not only about having the right team or the right transformation, it's having someone to hold your hands as you go through this process of transformation. There's going to be a few more coming in. Professor Zmorkhol.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much, Constantin. Thank you very much. Welcome. My name is Fouad. I'm the Dean of the Faculty of Business and Management at St. Joseph University since 2 years. I'm coming from the business environment. And I want to start by a quote I really love. One of my great business leaders is Jack Welch. Jack Welch used to be the CEO of General Electric for 20 years. And I recall in one of his books, he said, the minute I would stop learning, I would start not knowing anything. And I think he's fully right, because each one of us learn from each other, learn from the environment, learn from the market. And I think that the best environment for learning is Lebanon. We have so many pitfalls, but I think that within a very small career, in a couple of years, we learn crisis management, we learn development, we learn entrepreneurship, we learn synergy, we learn facing crisis. We learn so many things. We learn corruption. I think that Lebanon is I would say, a model. And this model is something that we experience. We pay a very high price in our company, in our careers, but at the same time, the good thing is, why do entrepreneurs succeed? And I was humbly honored to be invited at the Senate, in the French Senate, 5 years ago to discuss about Lebanese entrepreneurship. And when I came to stage, honestly, I couldn't find something that really differentiates us. So I had to be quite creative, and I came in on panel and I said, why we as Lebanese entrepreneurs succeed better than others? So everybody was waiting for an answer. And I said, because we know and we are raised within a speed of adaptation. And I insist on speed of adaptation, because any business person can adapt. But the speed of adaptation that we have is something that keeps us into movement and through a complete development. So today I'm extremely honored and I'm very touched to launch our first series of continuous education through the Faculty of Business and Management. I have to thank Constantin, because you started that, and then we did a kind of pilot last year with entrepreneurship, and this was really productive. We started discussing that, to remember, in January, and then, you couldn't come. Raza was at the start, and here we are 1 month after, as if we forgot what's happening, although it's getting worse, and the risks are higher, and the genocide is continuing, but still, we are here. So this is a very small example how we face the crisis. Three small examples, and I always like to share this. And I want to introduce you to my colleagues, Professor Jamil Arida, who is the representative of the continuous education in our faculty. And I want you to know as well, I'm very honored and proud to have the Vice Dean, Professor Layal Bouantoun, who have followed as well this initiative. So we will be together for a couple of days. You will have, where is Mrs. Makarem? Lama, thank you very much for what you're doing, for the follow-up. And Constantin is so, I would say, blessed and lucky to have you and working the same thing, and as well as we are. So thank you for what you're giving to the environment, coming from a banking sector. So you are in completely restructuring of yourself, of your knowledge, and giving back to community is very good. So I won't talk too much. I just want to tell you that we're a very dynamic business school. We follow, and I have some of my students, I can see them. So we work exactly on social, on soft skills as well as on hard skills. We believe that, I mean, Lebanon will grow again very soon. And if Lebanon will grow, is because of each one of you, because we have entrepreneurs, because we have a mindset, and we are ready to face crisis and at the same time to grow again. So sustainability, financing, you always come late, the same guys. So these are my students, okay? So, okay, but they're good people. So I was just saying that it's true that we're facing so many challenges. I can't be very optimistic, but I want to leave you with my 4 Ps. I was today discussing at the school, and I told them, I mean, I want to share my 4 Ps. So, I mean, most of you know the 4 P of marketing. No need to come back to them. But, however, I want to focus on my personal 4 Ps and keep this in mind. The first P is perception. We can always perceive what's going on as really negative, because if we take the facts, what's going on in Lebanon today, it's really negative. The budget, the security on the borders, the restructuring that is dramatic, the new circular 151, 160. I mean, whatever you see, we can perceive it really negative. But at the same time, I can tell you that we can perceive what's going on as very positive. I always say that we're not ready for war. However, we have to be ready for peace. And peace means restructuring, means growth. And I have to be extremely optimistic that I see growth coming back. I see a certain stability when we will be expecting the less. So let's perceive things specifically for our companies as positive for the coming months, not to say years. The second P is extremely important, is patience. Why patience? I mean, being patient is not being patient while waiting. Being patient means working while being patient, means persevering while being patient, being patient while focusing on a single objective, being patient while following a plan, being patient while following a strategy. So that's an extremely important P. Yes, we have to be patient, but patient doesn't mean waiting, nor just looking at the sky. Being patient means working really hard with the end in the mind. And my third P is maybe one of my favorite, is passion. When we love with passion, love has a completely different sense. When we work with passion, this means we give everything we have from deep inside. So please be passionate. When you love, love with passion. And if you hate, hate with passion as well. I don't mind. But at least do it very transparently from the bottom of your heart. And my last P, which is maybe the most important and something that you will learn from those wonderful leaders, is that's exactly perseverance. Yes, because it's not the smarter nor the richer that will that will sustain. Since we're talking about sustainability, is the most perseverant. Perseverant means accepting challenges, accepting failure, built on what we learned, build on experience. So I'm sure that we did not discuss the 4 Ps, but with Lama and Constantin, I think that you will find the 4 Ps in everything you do. I have to thank again my colleague, Dr. Bouantoun, Professor Arida, Carolina from the administration, our colleagues, and we'll have a series of coming training, discussion, and the most important, if I were you, be in your own shoes. So follow what Constantin and Lama will say, but try to apply it in your today business, whatever you do. And please engage into conversation, because again, don't forget Chuck Welch, let's learn from each other. So thank you very much for being in our faculty. Thank you for your trust. And I'm looking forward to see you again in other discussion and brainstorming. Thank you, Constantin.
So the course is over. He summarized it. Sorry. No, thank you. And we're really very blessed to have USG hosting us and being able to work with us on this. And this has been ongoing for a number of years because I've been associated with Veritech. As you know, this has been a relationship for more than 20 years. When we set up the first VC fund in this country under USG, this was Veritech Fund 1 back in 2006. A number of you were still in university benches and on it. So, and this is the beginning of the ecosystem that started. Lama and myself will be co-delivering this course. We're going to interchange. We have been working now together for close to 2 years. And our major motto is really to help organizations like yours. And by the way, you're going to see different organizations. You have some of you are scale-ups, some of you are startups, some of you are NGOs, some of you are working within a corporate field. And you will see that what we're going to go through this applies across all these different organizations, different profiles. You might have different needs, you might have different challenges, but the approach that we will use is an approach that will be applicable across the board. So before we start, I want to, this one is for what? For the
participation, for the attendance.
For the attendance, okay. It's important for us to know because there's going to be a number of deliverables. So you're going to have the slide set and you will see there is a lot of information on these slides. So we'll get the slide set. You're also going to get case studies that we have. So these are specific companies with whom we have worked where we developed case studies. We're also going to have articles that either I published or other people have published. So we will want to make sure that you're properly registered, that you have all your contact details so that you are able to get all the information that you need. I'm sorry?
For those of you who have iPhone, I got sheets. It's fine. You will fill it later. Don't worry.
Okay, so you have, so it's good. She has answers to everything. So don't look at me, ask her. So whenever you have the, so this is, but the information is one element, and this is probably one of the messages. To get the information is critical. The other elements behind it, which is equally important, is how you apply it. So this is where you need handholding. This is where a number of you are actually here to accompany startups, to accompany scale-ups on it. So it's important to have this ongoing process. I see this like we are planting seeds. What's important is what you happen with these seeds and how they grow. So this is as critical as the information itself. And this is where this could be, and this is a bit where we intervene, is that we work with a number of those organizations that are across the board that we do, and we help them take this, implement it what makes sense for your own organization in order to be able for you to be ready to access to the capital and help you find these sources of capital that would help you scale. Okay, so before we start, I'm going to ask, this is your time. You know, we're here to be able to address now. We have clear idea about what we want to deliver, but what are specific deliverables that you would like us to have? What are expectations that you have that we might not have thinking of, but trust me, we will adapt to it. So if there is one or two things that are important for you as a takeaway, what would it be?
Where to get the investment?
I'm sorry?
Where to get the investment from before it was with the banks?
Okay, so one of the questions that comes in, okay, so one of the questions, this is, it's great, because this is the last question, but it's okay. It is sources. So what you're looking is sources of funding is one of the elements. So sources of funding, sources of investments. What other issues you want or points? So sources of funding.
Company valuation.
Okay, so we have, and this is good because normally when you look at sources of funding, it's the last thing. You need to do all your homework before it, and we're going to be here to help you prepare. So part of the homework is how do you go about defining or determining company valuation. So this will be one. So how do we go about it? So sources of funding, company. What else? Fadda.
Look for investors who bring value.
Okay. So what you do here is sources of funding. So what you're looking at the selection criteria, and each one of you would have different selection criteria for ideal investor. We will cover, the good news is all these points are going to be covered. So what are we be looking for the ideal investor? So not only if he has money, what sort of value he can bring in, does he have the time to be able to add this value? So this is, what other issues you want? Tfaddal.
The strong
launch properly my new business.
Okay, so this is a broad term. It's a broad term, but we're going to cover it. So what we say, I'm going to put it under governance foundation. So this is the governance foundation that you need, and we will cover this. You will see that there is a number of elements that you need to build up in order to be able to prepare. So this is governance foundation that governance foundation that we need to have in place. This is clear. What else?
If there is any support from the government, like tax.
Okay, this is good. Unfortunately, in this case, I mean, we will. So what we get is we will tell you maybe not governments, but what are the sources of support. I shouldn't say this, but what we do, because we have been involved, sources of support for innovative ventures. So sources of support for innovative ventures. You will see that there are different programs. We are involved in some of these programs. We're managing others of these programs, and each one of them is providing a source of support. So there is different, it could be grants, it could be coaching, mentoring, or whatever. So we would list to you what are those programs that will be available, and then it's up to you to decide which is the one that makes more sense to you. Unfortunately, it's not coming so much from the government that you have, because for the simple reason that the government has very dry pockets for the moment in terms of this, but there are other sources. One of the programs is coming from the diaspora. Other program is coming from funding from the European Union. So we have different programs available, and some of you are also getting some programs to support innovative ventures in your case. Yes?
If there are ways to get tax off.
To take what? To take?
Tax off from the government, like something from the government.
Okay. All right. So it's good. I fully. I'm not writing it. I mean, I could write it down, but this will be the. We will. Okay. So we will have here. So we have sources of support for innovative ventures, and this could be from a tax point of view. So we could have from legal point of view that you have. You could have from other services that you have. We will. It's limited, so we need to set expectation here, and it's not going to be the main focus of that presentation, but we could have this as an additional information. Okay. Any other points?
The exact amount of money needed to fund it.
Okay, this is, it's not only exit. What the key question here is the sources of funding. But the first question any investors would ask you is how much money? And for you to decide how much money, I'll tell you, most of you don't know. Most of you don't know, because how much money comes from doing a cash flow forecast. And your cash flow forecast depends on what? Depends on the growth opportunities that you're going to have. So for you to be able to understand these growth opportunities and to reflect the growth opportunities into a cash flow forecast would only allow you to come up with because you think that my money is how much losses I'm going to make the first 2 years. It's wrong. It's not the losses. The losses is part of it. It's a number of other investments, capital expenditure, working capital that you need, and others that you will need it. And the only way to make it, it's not in your income statement, it's not in your balance sheet, it's in your cash flow statement. So unfortunately, for those of you who are non-finance, it's going to be a bit difficult, but trust me, نحن لبنانية. كلبنانية, we will understand it and we know how to apply it. It might take 1, 2, 3, 4 rounds, but you need to be able to answer the question, how much money do you need? Because if you don't have the proper answers to it, nobody will take you seriously. So I'm putting here, it's not only about the sources of funding, it's about the funding gap. So how do I go about understanding what is my funding gap? And this funding gap applies to NGOs, it applies to social enterprise, it applies to corporate. All organization that is providing a service and value would have a funding gap. Any other requests? These are excellent requests, by the way. So I'll tell you the one we will be able to answer or not. Tfaddali.
In the NGO business, in the NGO world now, everybody's talking about self-sustainability.
Yes.
And so we go towards creating like the social enterprise. Well, this doesn't exist in Lebanon.
True.
So what could be, how do you register and how do you use the know-how that you have developed throughout the years without registering as a social enterprise? What is the, and how do you build the self-sustainability when social enterprises don't exist in Lebanon?
Okay, what we'll do here is what are the, I'm going to put it dimensions for financial sustainability. So what are those dimensions for certain 4 SCs? So what we have. Today, you're absolutely right. Today, we don't have the legal definition, although we have been lobbying for several years. So we have been lobbying to get this. You have it in other countries. You have it in neighboring countries where you have it, and it will be accepted. At one point in time, it will be. It's not the priority for the moment, but it will be. It will. But now, independent, when it's going to be legally, you'll have a legal concept. So you need to prepare yourself for this. So what we will do is we will share with you some of the foundation that you need to have in place. So when it's ready, you apply for it. We have the Lebanese Social Enterprise Association where we're helping a number. Some of you are also present in here. We have other ways to be able to. So you need to have this foundation and the know-how in place so you're ready, independent of the legal status. Today you can operate, a number of you are social enterprise without having the legal. Why is legal important? Because you have some tax advantages, because you're going to have some other opportunities to saving cost and to simplify the process in terms of legal setup or exit that you want. So, but you have to put this in place independent of what the legal status is going to be. Any other questions? من ورا بالعربي بالإنجليزي بالفرنسي whatever language you want to ask a question تفضل.
The conditions, يعني they're going to be like assets, requested, guarantees, requested. Is it a lending? Is it an investment? Is it in a fund? يعني جمعية can accept a fund or management of the fund rather than having like assets.
Yes.
So what are the conditions around this investment?
Okay, so what we're going to do is we put it, so there is going to be one session, we put it on the term sheet. So normally the term sheet for any investment, whether it's grant, whether it's debt, whether it's equity, you have a term sheet. So the term sheet has terms and conditions. So we will cover what are those conditions that you will have. We will share with you what is the worst case term sheet. Why? Because it will open your eyes in terms of what to expect and what not to expect. So this is important. This will be this on the third day. So we will have is to be able to cover on it. But this is important that you understand how to structure it and what will be the things that you could, and what is available. Because today you could discuss it, but if in Lebanon it's not available, it might not be applicable. Okay, so we noted. Any other ones?
Budgeting, will be talking about.
Okay, we will be. Budgeting is important, Lando, to get to a funding gap. To get to the funding gap, you need to put together what we call, it's not only your budget, financial budget, but you're going to put a financial forecast. So what I have here is I will put it financial budgeting that we have, and with it is financial forecast. Actually, not only are we going to talk about this, one of the companies that we have, I've asked Lama to join on the board also, they've submitted their financial budget, and then the question is going to be, we're going to describe the company, we're going to describe what they do, and we're going to show you the financial budget. And then the question to you, all of you will be on the board, would you accept this financial budget, yes or no? Because one of the responsibilities of any board member is, do we accept or not the financial budget? And if you want to accept it, under which condition would accept it? So financial budgeting will have to be, you cannot raise funds without having a financial budget. You cannot raise funds without having a financial forecast, because it all goes down to it. So the good thing about all your points is they're all very interrelated. Any other points that you have? Yes? Okay, so what you have here, it's coming back to the resilience, is the how, let me write it, how to adapt to a crisis. I'm going to put it crisis. So how do we have when you don't have the funds? So some of you might not get the funds. So what do we do? But you're still convinced that you want to do. So you have different ways to be able. We will cover this in terms of other opportunities that you have if you cannot, because not all of you will be able to access funds. Some of you will, most of you hopefully will. But those who cannot, you want to continue, what do we do? What do we do in situations like this? How could we address this short-term funding gap that we have? We will also cover this. This will be part of the crisis management. We have also an article written on it that we'll be sharing with you. Now, each of those questions, we're going to try to get answers which are generic and apply to all of you. But at the end of the day, there will be specific elements that applies to your own company. For instance, Haitham is here. He has his team. He's supporting a number of innovative companies on it. He's going to take the templates. His team is here. But at the end of the day, we're sitting down with him and his team in 2 weeks down the road, and we're going through a much more detailed view. So this detailed approach, which is customized to his own specific situation, where he's creating a platform to connect innovators and entrepreneurs and social enterprises like yours to investment sources, this has not been done in Lebanon. Idal has tried to do it about 5 years ago, 6 years ago, it did not work. So these are examples, but what we will do, he will take it, but at the end of the day, Constantin Talahon, we want to do it here, how do we do it? So do we go in, so we take this is basically giving you the foundation for you to understand the terminology. Then when we sit down with you, we don't have to go through this again. You would have got the foundation, then we build on this foundation to address your specific need. Okay? Any other questions or points? Okay, this is a good list. So out of this list, they're all important. The funding gap, sources of funding that are available. We're going to map. We're going to show you what are the different sources of funding. You're going to hear it from the people that are here, and some of them are investors. You know, I've asked Sami Baidoun to come, with whom we set up the first VC fund in Lebanon. He's coming actually later on this afternoon or tomorrow, I forgot. Determining company valuation will be covered. Selection criteria for the ideal investors will be covered. The governance foundation, it will be throughout. You will see all the different elements of the foundation. Sources of support of innovative ventures. So what are the different sources that you have? Tax and the legal here. This will not be covered as much as you would like it, but we will go trying to see maybe on a one-to-one basis later on how we... So this will be the only one that might not be going into a lot of details, but at least we'll give you the foundation for it. Dimension for financial sustainability, we will definitely cover, and all the other we covered. So here, it's important, and we'll come back to this list at the end of the course. I'm stopping here. So what is the course outline? And you will see linking this to this one. Where is the cap for the... here it is. Okay, so we will... I'm sorry, normally I speak without micro. I prefer because I like to use my hands. Here I have to get the hands, so I will shake. No, it's... So what is the topic? The first one is we'll go through transformation journey to navigate crisis. We believe that all the crisis is an opportunity for you to be able to rethink of your model. And rethink of your model is not fine-tuning. Most of you fine-tune. We've been doing this, we've been doing it for so many years, we're going to continue to do it, we change a few things, it doesn't work. So what we're going to do, so what is the difference between transformation and a normal business plan? Transformation is there is a radical change in the way you're doing this. Radical change in your target segmentation, a radical change in the go-to-market strategy, a radical change in what you're going to get in terms of stakeholder support for it. So this is the meaning, and we'll go through. The second element we'll cover is risk management and corporate governance. When you face with crisis like we are, and we have all the dimension of the crisis in this country that we could imagine. You know, this is one of the worst case scenario for the past 150 years in terms of country going through it, but you're still here, and the companies are still there and still continuing and wanting to succeed. We will need to put together what is the risk management framework, because the best way to be able to predict a situation, a crisis, will help you overcome it. And then we'll tell you what is the governance foundation that you need to put in place. Some of you are working with organizations with very solid and sound foundations. They'll share with you why, what they learned from it. We will go through financial statements. You need to understand financial statements. Some of you, it's going to be Chinese, it's okay. Chinese is good. You're going to have it. It could take 2 rounds, 3 rounds, 4 rounds, 5 rounds. You will have it. You need to get it. You cannot access capital. You cannot go to investors if you don't talk their language. So we will do it, and we'll do it in a way that is very easy for you to understand and easy for you to integrate. We will cover financial modeling. So it's not only about doing your financial forecast. You need to model. Model this business financially. Why? Because this will help you define your funding gap. We will then looking at internal measures to financial sustainability. So this goes back to one of the questions, what are the dimensions for financial sustainability? Beside the funding, what are the other things that we need to do in order to sustain financially? And you have a number of different practices. You'll hear it from us, and you're going to hear it from different intervenants that are coming in. The investment readiness journey is what you need to do in order to prepare for raising the funds. And there are different steps. And one of the steps is to make sure that you have a data room that is ready, that is complete, that is consistent, and that is available for potential investors who are interested to come in. So what is a data room? What are those documents? What do you need to put in here? And it's fairly similar, whether you are, again, startup, social enterprise, NGO, or corporate behind. You need to have a story. What is your story? This is your pitch deck. And why is this story unique? Why should you are here in this room 60. Why should I choose you versus choosing the other 59 that are here? So this uniqueness of the story is important, and we'll share with you a bit of these that we believe are successful ventures. And the last one, of course, is on company valuation and due diligence. Now, it's a long list, and it's going to be, for some of you, it's okay. So you're going to get a lot of information in it, but trust me, it takes time. Some of those templates, you will use them in 5 years. Some of them, you might use them in 10 years, but trust me, these are templates that are going to be useful. If not now, if not with your team, it might be later, and it will be a different environment. But these are templates that we have been working with a number of companies over the past 30, 40 years, and hopefully this will draw some clicks in your mind. Next slide. Okay, so how do we go about the methodology? The way you're going to have, we'll have the templates and the framework. You're going to have a lot. You're going to have a lot of these templates available. We're going to work on specific case studies. Now, we will not have a lot of time. And the best case, we'll do probably 2 or 3 of the case studies. The best case study is your own company. So your company, and what we want is to work with those companies like you and trying to define a case study out of your company. Why? What is the challenge that you face, and how did you go about surrounding it? We will share best practices. You're going to hear it from different CEOs, investors, and leaders in the ecosystem that are here. What is their perspective? We will also have pitching project works. Now, if we had the time, ideally what we want is when I share the templates, is one of you say, Constantin, it's okay. I take it, and tomorrow morning I'm going to present this template on my company. I'm going to get feedback from you. So if we have the time to do this, if one of you wants to volunteer on a specific template, and then we'll go work overnight, and then tomorrow we come, this will be an opportunity for you to be able to get feedback on your templates. The last one is the ongoing coaching session. This is fundamental. At the end of the day, this journey for some of these companies, I've been with them for more than 10 years. 10 years working with them. It's not a 1 month. It's not a 1 session. It's not 1 course that you take. It's not an accelerator program for 3 months or 6 months. It's a journey that takes several years. And this is what we are a strong believer. And most of the programs that Lama and I have been embarking are programs which are multi-year. The one with Life and Drosos Foundation is over 3 years, not 2 years. Over 3 years program where we have 15 of the companies. One of the owners of the companies is present in this room, Mitri, with Ground Vertical, and you have other 14 companies that will be part of it. So the other program that we have been working with WE4F was a program also over 4 years, providing grants, providing capacity building. So the name of the game, it's not a 1 course. It's not a 3 months accelerator program. The name of the game is you need to find the people whom you trust, who could add value to your organization, and who could be patient enough to walk with you this journey and to help you shape this journey that you want to do. And this is what I call the ongoing coaching. And this is not going to be here. We will introduce you, because each of the speakers, being it Lama, being it myself, being the 10 others that will speak, all are potential coaches, all are potential advisors that you could have in your organization, and all are interested in wanting to help the ecosystem. You know, I'm past my retirement age, you know, we do this, but it's something that is there, and there are dozens, if not hundreds, of other Lebanese in our late 60s that are here, but that still have the passion, we still have the drive, we still have deep pockets, we still have the willingness to wanting to make a difference in this country, and they exist. And you're going to hear a number of them over the next 3 days. Thank you. Okay, so what are the pillars? The pillars on here, we're going to have the first one is going to be on your transformation pillars. So how are you going to transform your organization? And we'll show you the different templates to do this. We're going to do this today. So this will be the second pillar on financial management foundation. This will be tomorrow. So what do you need to know from the basics? And we will also cover part of the investment readiness also tomorrow. The third day will be on access to capital. So what do we do? So this is about the investors, about how do we go about approaching them, how do we go about pitching them. So you have different pillars. This is today. This one on the financial management and part of the investment readiness will be on Wednesday, and the last one on access to capital will be on Thursday. So this will be important. Now, the board governance is across. It's across every single topic that you touch, you need to have the governance. We're going to discuss it more in depth today. Now, there is a lot of material, a lot. So it is, we will not be able to cover all of it, but you will get all the slides. So for you to reflect, you'll get also the papers, the publications with it. There is also plenty of videos that we will have, so you get to get access. I'm for sharing information. We never stick trying to protect it. It's really here about sharing this and making sure that, but these, the presentation, the videos, all this is one element for you to be able to raise your hand and say, please come, we understand your language, can you come and talk to us? So this will be the next slide. So this is the first day. So today we're going to look at the impact of crisis on financial sustainability. We're going to look at what is a transformation journey, what are the templates that you're going to be using. One example of the templates, the risk management framework. The other one is why is governance important and what will be the different elements in governance. The second day, we're going to look at financial statements. We'll do it simple. You're going to understand it. We look at financial ratio, which is basically taking this and doing ratios. Now, why are those ratios important? Because they drive a lot of the key performance indicator. I sit on the board of one of the business. One of you here is part of the family. I sit on the Sayali, the Bani group. And one of the things that we have discussed with the chairman last week is what are going to be those key performance indicators that we want to cover across the 18 companies that are part of the group, being it Exotica, Enotica, Exir, the Bani Agri. So we discussed it, and a number of them are coming from the financial ratio analysis. So what we have done, we've taken the group's performance over the past 6 years. We looked at these ratios we have, and we decided out of these 25 ratios, which are the one that makes more sense for us. And these are the ones that we're going to be held accountable for in 2024. So this financial ratio analysis comes from this. You need to understand it because this is going to drive a lot in terms of the valuation that you will have. The financial modeling is here we look past. Statement past. Susar, Sintejay, the last year, the ratio analysis. Here we're going to look forward. We want to model your business forward based on what? Based on the growth opportunities that we will have identified together in your transformation journey. What are those growth opportunities? How do we quantify them? And how do we make them happen? Again, your for-profit, non-profit, same approach. What are these growth opportunities and how do they fit into your financial model? Once we've done this, then we are ready. We have our transformation plan. We have our governance foundation. We know what are the risks that we face and what we're going to do with it. We know what is our past history in terms of finance, even non-profit or for-profit, same approach. We have our model. We know now, finally, what is our funding gap. We know what the funding gap is. Then what are we going to take as measures in order to be able to bridge the gap? And the third day is about how do we bridge the gap. So how do we prepare ourselves before talking to investors? How do we prepare our data room to make sure it's complete, to make sure it's consistent, to make sure it's high quality? Including in it, we spend some time on the pitch deck, the investment teaser. We'll spend some time on the valuation. We spend some time also on the due diligence. Due diligence means the term sheet. So this is the term sheet that you have. Whether grants, debt, equity, same sort of approach. So this is the process. It's a lot of data. So you're going to hang in there. It's okay. At point in time, you feel outside your comfort zone. You feel, إنه خلاص ضيعتكم, رحتوا, but you will come back. You will come back because topic change behind it. So don't worry if you're losing us. It's okay to lose us. You will come back because this will be a document that you will keep returning to. Okay, the first one is on weathering crisis. So what we're going to do, we will cover the impact of crisis on financial sustainability, the transformation network, the risk management network, and governance. Next slide. Yes, please. Okay, here we go. So this is the process that we use across all companies. Being it Beit al-Baraka, being it Arc-en-Ciel, being it with the Bani Agri, being it with other group, it's the same. So we take them, we need to make sure, where are you? Where are you today? What are the key gaps that you're facing today? What have you done over the past year, 2 years, 3 years? What are the key achievements, key milestones that you have delivered? What are the core competencies that you have? Your organization. You could all use yourself. What are those core competencies where you believe that you're better than competition, and these are strategic skill sets that are needed? So we spend time with you on it. What are the key challenges that you're facing? What are the growth opportunities? Extremely important. Extremely important, because this will drive how much money you need. So what are those growth opportunities? How do we map them? How do we document them to be able, then from this, how do we differentiate with those opportunities versus others? We look at your strategic intent. Why do you exist? Where are you going? How are you going to get there? This is vision, mission, and values. We have done, for instance, today we were one company. I invested in this company close to more than $250,000. This is fresh, not Lola on it. And we have done today the leadership assessment. We took all the leadership team on it, and we took them through the process of and to identify what are the leadership gaps that they have in this organization, and what can we do in order to be able to fill this gap. So this was, and this is an important point, because at the end of the day, this drives execution. If you have gaps in your leadership, we need to know what these gaps are, and we need to know how to best address them. Then once we've done all this, we reached this point, which for me is extremely important, which is the balanced scorecard. The balanced scorecard means what is the agreements between me and you. You are the CEO, you are the team behind it. What is this agreement? We do it once a year. We do it at the beginning of the year. We're going to show you examples. Some of you have gone through it. And this will be the base of us sitting down together for board meetings and reviewing. Where are you in terms of the thing that you are supposed to do? Key performance indicators. Where are you in terms of key strategic initiative that you want to implement? Where are you behind? Where are you on track? If you're behind, how we could help you. So this subject is important because this is going to test your accountability. How accountable you are, and for me, before investing, because we don't only advise, we don't only sit on the board, we end up funding from our own pocket these companies, is your ability to be able to gain my trust as a potential investor on delivering on what you said on the balanced scorecard. And this applies again, NGOs, for-profit, non-profit. We get then to the financial model and company valuation. Then from this, we know what the funding gaps are. Then when we know the funding gaps, what can go wrong? We have an agreement, we have a plan, transformation plan, but what can go wrong? A few things can go wrong, and in case they go wrong, what happens? So what are these food processes that you have? All of those will end up in your data room. And data room will include other information. Your CVs, your background, what you have done, your legal lawyer, your tax auditor, etc. Then we map investors. Into kilkon, but ulo, show me what was the first one, the sources of fund. You want to have this. Your investment event is when we put you in front of investors. The mapping of potential investors are the sources of fund. But I don't want to put you in front of investors if we have not aligned on all those. Because I tell you, you have one chance. You lose this chance, you basically lose your opportunity to be able to. So what we want is we want to get you to this once you are well prepared, once your data room is complete, once we understand what are the key risk areas that you face and we'll be able to handle it. Once you have a clear understanding what your funding gap is, it's coming from where? It's coming from your financial model. Where is your financial coming from? It's from your growth opportunities. They're all interconnected. Once you understand the logic of connecting these different boxes, you will start getting to be able to convince and to talk to investors. So this is the process. It'll end up in the investment event. After the investment event, we have term sheet. So the term sheet is actually, if you want to take the money, it will be on these conditions. It could be a debt term sheet. It could be a convertible debt term sheet. It could be a grant term sheet. It could be an equity term sheet. It could be a SAFE, which today is becoming more popular in Lebanon across the region. And then ultimately, we want to make sure that we have the right governance to make sure that the money that you're going to be raised is going to spend properly. I always use this example. Lama knows it. One of the companies that I was working is Al Ghurair Group. So this is based, one of the largest private investment group in the GCC. And the first thing I have done when I joined is I looked at the past investments that the board has approved, and I told them, this is the list of the investments. This is the size of the investment that you have done. This is the expected return that you are supposed to generate on these investments. And this is the actual return that you have generated on the investment. I went back 10 years, and I showed it. It was the only way for me to get their attention, because across the board you had major issues in terms of meeting the expectation that you have set versus what actually has been delivered. But we have a tendency to forget what we have approved 3 years or 5 years ago. You cannot. Because these events that you're doing, which is using money, but using money in ways that is not creating value, but destroying value, is going to be a problem. So you need to learn from the mistakes, because all of you will make mistakes. All of you, we have done mistakes, but learn from these mistakes and make sure that we, and if I sit down with you at, it's like I have close to 40 years of working and making mistakes and hopefully learning from some of them that I'm trying to share with you. So I'm trying to do it in a condensed way. Next slide. So maybe go back one more, go back one more. So here, at the end, if you want, what is in the center? In the center, and this is why we exist, this is what we're trying to deliver, is we're trying to focus on organization independent of the size, independent of the sector, independent whether you're for-profit or non-profit, because we work with both. We work with small startups at the Asian phase, and we work with very large established groups that we have done. We work across different sectors behind. But what we look for is how innovative are you? And if there is not strong innovation in the way you do, rethink again your business model. Because without innovation, your likelihood of being able to differentiate from others is going to be weak. So this is quite important, and this is a tough one to crack. How can you build innovation in the model that you do? And innovation, مش بس R&D, مش بس coming up with a patent. It's not this. It's about the way you sell the product, the way you package the product, the way you price your product. All of those are elements of the innovation. The second one is show me that you could scale. Show me that what you do, we can actually scale it. We don't want to reinvent the wheel every single time. So if you ask us what are the common denominator across the organization that we work with, we want them to have innovation. We want to help them being innovative. We want to make sure that they have the scalability potential and they know how to make it happen. How can they scale? We want also that they generate impact. So impact is important because the name of the game in investment more and more in the years to come is going to be about impact investments. It's not only financial investment. What is the difference between the two? The impact investor is looking at making money, but is looking at what? Making sure that this money is being spent on organizations that are creating an impact. And this impact, you will hear it from different investors that are coming. Impact could be measured on environment impact, social impact, reduction of poverty, food production, water savings, energy savings. You have different ways to measure the impact that you're creating across your organization. And we focus on organizations that are generating impact, and this impact can scale. And lastly, and probably most importantly, and this is why this country is in the mess that we're in, it's about integrity. It's about having the right people with the right mindset to be able to do the right job for this country. And unfortunately, this goes to governance, this goes to ethics, this goes to integrity. So this is lacking in this country, and this is why it's important to plant the seeds with you so that you become not only the future leaders in terms of the business that you run, but hopefully also in terms of the political environment. So these, I call them the 4 I's, but you could call them SI to scalability. I use Ignite for it. It's about innovation, it's about scalability or ignition, it's about the impact that you generate, and the integrity is in everything that you do. The way you talk, your consistency, your transparency. A number of you are not paying tax, so don't trust it. So you will need to go back to this mindset that we had when back I was a young teenager in the 60s. Lebanon was built on a very solid foundation during I won't mention the presidents, but it was Fouad Shihab at the time. I'm also part of the foundation of Fouad Shihab, because I believe that these sort of the political leaders, but also business leaders available at this time knew what they were talking about, and we had everything to be much better than what Dubai is today. So this is in some ways next slide. Okay, so this is an example of what is a transformation plan. So we spent 3 months with biomass. So Mario Masoud is the CEO. This is the Masoud family. They have different ventures. One of the venture is biomass. And this is the table of content of what the transformation plan is. So we have gone through it, and we spent time, and we went. 3 months is you take the time to turn the stones. So we started with the executive, actually this is the last thing you do. The executive summary is the last one you do. We looked at the company, what has happened. This is back to in terms of the key milestone before the transformation. We looked at the market, what is the market fundamentals that you have. We looked at also the rationale in terms of organic in the Lebanese context. We went through a SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Most of you are familiar with it. I'm not going to go into much detail. If you want detail, we could do it, but we have done it, and this is a good way to start your planning process. We looked into risk management. We looked also, what are the pillars of transformation? How is this organization going to transform? Part of it was export orientation. Part of it is being able to increase the production that they have. So you have a number of pillars. We look at these pillars that we have. Then we looked at these priorities. So we built here and we defined these different priorities. We looked also at the strategic transformation priorities that we went in. We looked at the governance. Do they have the right board? Do we need to change things in terms of the board? And then we came up with the social, economic, and transformational impact. So this was it's a work that we have done. This is part of the work where we sit down, ask questions, work together with the management team in order to be able, next slide, in order to be, so this is a summary. So if you ask for biomass, what were the transformation pillars? And this will be a question that will ask each one of you. For-profit, non-profit, what are your transformation pillars? How are you going to transform your organization from where it is today to where it needs to be? In their case, aiming for healthy financials. So what they wanted to do is to strengthen their financial statement in order to be able to raise capital. So this was one element which was important for us. The second one is that they re-looked at their growth strategy. So we sat down and we looked at the growth strategies, export-led primarily. How do we build on the success that we have here in Lebanon, and how do we expand this overseas that we had? So this is their growth strategy was another important pillars. The other pillars here to support the growth strategy, what are the products? What your existing product portfolio, what will be your future product portfolio that we have, and how we're going to develop it. Then when we do have this, the fourth one is on expanding farming. You cannot increase your capacity without more land. So, and the limitation, the Masoud family have some land, but they don't have all the lands in Lebanon. So what do? We go to contract farming. We go to people like myself who have lands, who are not using this land, and waiting for better time to be, and are you interested in doing it? So a big portion of it is how do you go about expanding your capacity by identifying land opportunities where you could farm and you could be able to increase your production capacity. Governance, how can we ensure that our board is adding value? Not only here to control and monitor, there are places, please sit down on the side. You could sit down. So this is important and it will hit each one of you. So what do you have a board? Most of you don't even have a board. Why do you need a board? We will cover this. And how can the board add value? The whole point of it is for the board to add value to this. And we spend a lot of time with the board members to make sure that they add it. Then we looked at the organization and management. Do they have the right team, the right staffing to be able to do the job behind? We looked at their systems and processes, the SOPs that they have, the systems that they have. Are these the ones that are best in class? Do we need to change them? And finally, we looked at the impact that they create. These were 8 of their transformation pillars. My question to each one of you is, what are your transformation pillars? And you need to think of these transformation because each transformation pillars is going to derive 1 or 2 or 3 priorities. So, and they don't need to be 8. They could be 1. They could be 2 or 3 transformation. So what are the transformation pillars of your organization? And if you need help to find them, or you need help in terms to, it took us time. You don't do it in one go. It took time, you come back, we reflect on it. So this is an example of the, next slide please. Okay, now this is another way. I've published an article. This is another way to look at your existing situation. This is what the first thing block is your gap. I don't want to spend too much time on it. I called it the 12 M's to have catcher behind. So this is the way to assess where you are today on these M's. So the first M is how clear, complete is your mission. The mission is why do you exist and where are you trying to, what you're trying to achieve. So basically in the mission, who are your customers? What value do you add to your customers? And how do you go about adding this value to your customers? This is the vision. How complete is your management team? And a number of the organizations that we work with, this is the big issue. The team is not complete. They're all engineers, or a number of them are engineers. They lack sales, they lack marketing, they lack business development, they might lack finance. So this is important. I don't ask you to hire, but at least get some advice, support, coaching, mentoring in this case. What is your business model? Is it proven? If it's not proven, what does it take to be proven that we have? So what I'm asking you is I'm listing those M's, and I'm asking you to rank yourself along those M's from a scale of 1 to 5. And for those where you are low, what do we need to do in order to be able to address the gaps? So the business model, does it have a track record or not? If it doesn't, what are the problems? How attractive is your market? How big is it? Is it growing that you have? What is your different, I called it mantra, which is basically your differentiation that you have versus competition. What is your mantra that you have? Is it powerful and is it sustainable? Can we have the same differentiation in 2 years or 3 years down the road? What are the metrics? This goes to the KPIs that you have. How can I hold you accountable that you have done a good job? Again, NGO, profit, non-profit, corporate, small side, the same. What are your metrics? At the end of the day, if you want me to put money in your organization, I want to see what are you going to be accountable for in terms of delivery at the end of the year. With the metrics come the milestone. The milestones are these projects, breakthrough projects that you will take ownership for. You could be 2 or 3. We'll show you examples of it in terms of the... we want to make sure, do you have regular monitoring? If you have metrics and you have milestones and you don't monitor, forget it. Don't waste your time. So this is as important, the monitoring, as to have the clarity on your metrics and your... so how much money do you need? This is the cash gap. Do you understand your risk? What are the risk areas that you have? Do you have the right maturity in terms of yourself and in terms of your key leaders? If it's a startup, it's only 1 or 2, but it could be more. So in case we have, if one of you leave, are we, this is one of the concerns. Some of the companies where I invested because I trusted the CEO. But if something happens to the CEO, so I was pushing the CEO, in the case of the company that we were this morning with Lama, is to have, and she has a number 2. So this for me was an important breakthrough, is to have a number 2 being present. Why? Because if something happens, there is somebody else to take over. The last one is, of course, your motivation, stakeholders. The motivation of your stakeholders, your customers, your employee, and how do we do it? We measure it. We talk to your customers, we capture their voice, we talk to your employees, we capture their voice, and trying to understand how good a job are you in understanding their needs, addressing those needs. So this is one simple way of looking at your gap and measuring your gap. Next one. So the question would be to you, so what are the key milestones that your organization have achieved? So this is, I don't want the answers now, but this will be, and we'll show you templates. What are the, is somebody presenting now? Or? Rida, where is Rida? Hi Rida, okay. So what we have today, I'll introduce Rida first. So the first milestone is what have you done so far and why it's important. It's important because for me to trust you in terms of your future, I need to see what you have done in the past. Now we've met Rida and the 2 co-founders. This is InVenture, similar to what you're doing, Haissam, but in different ways. What InVenture is doing is that they have created a hub where they have expertise in different domains, technology, go-to-market, in finance, etc. Rida is the CEO of the organization. What they've done is they invested into different companies. These are different startups. They invested in putting cash to these companies, or they invested into sweat equity. We provide you with the service, and in return, we take a percentage of your equity. So it's a very interesting model. Not too many like this in Lebanon that we have. And we have been working with them and advising them on how do we go about scaling, how to understand the funding gap. Basically, what we have gone through, we have sat down with Rida and with her team. So I'm asking her, she's the general manager, CEO of this organization. The 2 co-founders have been present and very active. And they look at those companies that have a technology edge, that have the ability to scale, and they add value to them. And this value could be either services, tech service, other type of service, marketing, branding, communication, whatever. And in return, they take a shareholding position and they continue. So they're building up a portfolio of different companies where they have taken an active role in providing value. So Rida, I'll let you come and talk. Tfadal.
That was enough of an intro. Hello everyone, my name is Rida. I'm the managing director of InVentures. So InVentures in a nutshell is what we call a venture builder. Basically we work on creating internal or external startups, let's call them, if you want. But it can be an entrepreneur, it can be a corporate who's looking to create a new unit, a new project, a new product, for their own portfolio of businesses. So our main focus is 2-sided. We do business support and we do technology support. When it comes to the business support, we provide research, analysis, positioning, business strategy, all of those things while focusing and being the most human-centric or customer-centric possible. So this is the business side. And on the other side, something that usually venture builders do not provide is the technology development. In our model, we do provide the technology development, and that was the initial edge that we had over others. So we're not an incubator, we're not an accelerator. We are also hands-on, and we create the product in-house. As we moved along, we noticed that more and more people were appreciating, other than the tech support, it was more of the business support that comes with the tech support. Because if you notice a lot of when you're mandating someone to create your own product, you're talking purely technical, and they do miss the link to the customer or the end user, and they don't know how to bring that value in the technology. So we help bridge that gap. Our initial model was mainly for startups, so what you would call a startup lab or a startup hub, anything internal and external, and discussing these issues, working hand in hand with entrepreneurs. But as we moved along, and our model was purely for equity at the beginning, so we provided our services in return for sweat equity. We had an initial funding from 3 investors other than our co-founders. And then our model was the equity-based services. As we moved along, and given the crisis, given that now the course is about the crisis, we found that some of our investors couldn't finish their investment. And we had to innovate and figure out what to do in this time of crisis and what to do with our cash flow. So as we were brainstorming, and we got validation on our initial idea for the venture builder for investors, we noticed more and more that it was very appealing for single or solo entrepreneurs who did not have more than just a startup, more than a team. So we started focusing on that end, and we noticed that these entrepreneurs also came from a very solid corporate background. So they were serious senior people. And they started discussing that this model could work very well with corporates too. So, for some corporates, they do entrepreneurial projects within their own companies, or they're looking to create their own units. So we started migrating more into a B2B model, so working as a corporate venture builder and for solo entrepreneurs. And we changed our model from pure sweat equity to paid fees against some of the provided tech. In return, we provide the business support for sweat equity. And for now, it has been proven to be very successful. And we actually got in touch with CS Touch, Lama and Constantin, while we were trying to do this transition. And now they're helping us structure ourselves more to be able to handle corporate clients and to, let's say, clean up the house to take on the new growth opportunities that are coming our way, hopefully. So in a nutshell, we were founded in 2021. We were thinking about it way before, but for us to actually take the leap, it was in 2021. And we raised around 900K from 3 business angels and a portfolio company. We were able, it was very difficult, but we were able eventually to attract some talent, and it took a lot of time. But thank God we managed to do so. And in the beginning to mid-2023, we started feeling the heat on our cash flow, and we decided to move our business model from pure sweat equity to a hybrid mix of fees and equity. And our new target audience is not purely startups, but more of solo entrepreneurs, and now the big focus is on corporates. And our clients are actually, unfortunately, which is sad, none are in Lebanon so far, so our portfolio is mainly outside of Lebanon. We're talking New York, France, Toulouse, Paris, and Dubai. So far, and we do have regular board meetings. One of the issues that we actually discussed was how to make the best out of our board members and benefit from the expertise and the connections of the board members, and the CS Touch also helped us in managing that. So, yeah, that's it. Thank you.
These are milestones. So the same way Rida has put her milestones, the question is, what are the milestones for your organization? Now, in Hit's case, you see it. So she has done it around themes that you have. An important theme in this case is to convince the business angels to come in, to be able to attract the right talents to go, to make sure that you are able to adapt in terms of your business model versus the situation. Initially, they were looking at doing these investments, and they realized from a cash flow perspective, it's important to also start generating the cash. So this is why they're getting now into the corporate advisory role that they do in terms of tech and innovation. But at the center of it, what was it? It's about innovation. How do you use technology, and how do you have this technology to build an innovative edge? And that's what they're looking in their different organizations. So this is one model. Their hub is in Lebanon. So all the expertise is in Lebanon. The companies could be across the board, but this is an excellent example of how can we use the Lebanese expertise to build the hub, to add value to these organizations. And these organizations are in very mature countries. You mentioned the countries that are present, but the value added that we have here is quite unique. Yes, there was a hand, yes.
Thank you for the presentation. So, as a new venture, how were you able to connect with these clients outside of Lebanon? Were they from personal networks? How did you market yourself? Because the competition is very vast if you're on a global level.
Yes, I have to say we were a bit lucky because it turned out myself and the co-founders, we just all finished business school, so we already were integrated in a let's say a network, and we leveraged connections, and we kind of harassed people we know to put us in contact, and hustling, let's say. And we do have friends, so it's actually the small things. If you know a friend who knows a friend who is looking for something and you refer, and it's just a snowball effect after that. Once you have that one contact that actually works and you get the stamp of approval, then it's easy from there.
Thank you. Any other questions? Lama, next slide, please. Okay, then the second question. So everyone is a template. So we're going to show you the templates, and it's up to you to decide which template you want to apply. This is how InVenture applied it. We'll show you how other companies... What are core competencies? Core competencies, typically when you do things, you have some which are strategic in nature and some that are less strategic. So if I look at InVenture, to do the payroll of InVenture employees is less strategic. It needs to be done, but it's less strategic. To what is strategic is the ability to be able to innovate or to add value through technology is strategic. So what I'm looking is map your skill set in terms of strategic and non-strategic, and then map it against your competitor. So the core competency is what is the strategic skill set that you have where you believe that you're better than competition. So this is the definition. So the question becomes, what are your core competencies today? The other question that goes with it is how are these core competencies going to develop over 3 years? Can we show next slide? So this is an example with one of the organizations that we have been working. This is Al Majmoua. So Lama and I have been working with them for the past actually 12 months on it. So we defined their core competence. Majmoua is the leading in terms of providing microfinance solutions to very small, very small businesses, and to help them basically bridge the gap and own it. So it could be having your own car mechanics or own tailor shops or your own hairdresser. Hi, Maurice. So what you do is you have here, this is the core competency that they have reached. The other one that we have asked them is what are the future core competencies that you'll have in 2025? So we sat down with the board and we looked at those core competencies. So for instance, if you look today, they have a track record. They were able to raise more than $100 million from different funding sources. They had excellent client relationship management. They're present across the country. They have offices across the country. They had to downsize with the crisis that came in. Their culture is quite unique in terms of the teamwork that they have, the loyalty of their personnel, etc. So we list them, we discuss them, we prioritize them, and we say, fine, what is your next core competencies in 3 years down the road? So in this case, if they don't have digital finance, they believe this is an important element behind it. To look into very small enterprises. So instead of funding only for $1,000, $2,000, or $3,000 loans, is how do we get to the $10,000 loan and even higher? So this is an expertise that requires different credit assessments and different collection perspective. So this process of mapping your core competencies today with the core competencies that you'll have in the future, what is the obvious third question is how do you bridge the gap? How do you bridge the gap between where you are, where you need to be? And this could be a mixture of hiring, partnership, outsourcing that you have. So you have different ways to bridge it. So these are important strategic questions to build your transformation plan. Core competencies today, core competencies in the future, how do we bridge the gap? Question on this. Every one of those is a template for you to decide and to decide which is the one that you're going to use and which is the one that makes sense. From our experience, all are important. And all are part of what we believe as a transformation journey. Question on this? Is this clear? Next slide.
I would probably add that we're looking at core competencies, we're looking at future and those that you need to weather the crisis. So since we're talking about in a context of crisis, what are the core competencies that you need today to weather this crisis? And these will be different than the core competencies that you had before and those that you will need after you've already turned the page into the crisis and moved on.
Okay, so we've addressed your milestones. You've heard it from Rida in terms of the milestones. The core competencies, you've seen the one from Majmoua. Every one of those templates are being used in different organizations. What are the challenges that you're facing? And if you want, so what do you think are the key challenges that today most of these innovative ventures, what are the most important ones? Financial. What? Financial. Okay, financial specifically, it means what? Access to capital. So number one challenge you'll see across the board is access to capital. After access to capital, what do you think are the other challenges? Okay, so access to markets. So access to capital, access to market. How do we grow? Where do we grow? So how do we grow? Where do we grow? What are the other challenges?
How to apply?
How to apply what? How to apply? It's about basically it's about execution, the ability to be able to execute on this plan that you have put together. So ability to go, which goes to your people. So do you have the right people? So it's access to talent. Do you have the right people that you can retain? Even though these people are going to go back left and center, لأنه هلا الحالة بلبنان مثل ما هي, and people of your age and are starting to look at other opportunities outside the country. So access to talent and retention of talent, access to market, access to capital. What are the challenges? Okay, it's infrastructure that you have. Do we have what it takes in terms of infrastructure? And infrastructure is a broad term. It could include governance, it could include SOPs, it could include do you have the right system, it includes, so it's not only about the people, it's about the tools, it's about the templates, it's about that allows you to be able to do the good job. So these are all challenges. The question that we have to you is, tfaddal.
Law and corruption.
Law? Okay, so the challenges, of course, is to be able to, how do we stop or how do we, to deal with all the corruption that we have in our government. And probably one of the criteria that we choose when we look at companies is trying to see companies with as little dealing with government so as not to be impacted by whatever is happening. But this is important, how do we deal with it? Next slide. I'm sorry? No, you don't, because a number of the NGOs are here, but it's not working in terms of funding. So what I'm saying is probably not one, because your services are provided to institutions that could be either governments or others. So this is a list that you have seen. This is in some ways actually taking from our own perspective on it. So the companies that we're looking for, we sat down, what are they looking? Access to funding, access to talents, retention of access to markets, critical. This is the growth opportunities, the mapping of those. The access to talents, do we have the right talents? What are the gaps that we have? How do we retain? How do we hire them? Access to innovative technology. What InVenture is doing, if you ask me what is the number one value proposition, is they are providing innovative technologies to the company that decide to. This is fundamental, and very few companies are doing it. This is why we believe that in this model, being Lebanese-based in terms of their value added, they're adding this and addressing this need. Access to capacity building and advisory services. So we have a number of you here that are actually advisors to those organizations, so but they don't know who they are. So it's important that we provide the database, and all of the people, I mean, Rida has talked, Rida actually is a potential advisor. She is doing this, and her co-founders are also potential advisors. I'm putting them in contact with the head of IT of one of the large groups with whom I work, so as to see how they could help and advise in implementing a number of these projects that they have decided to do in 2024 and 2025. Access to best practice in governance foundation. Do you have it? Because if you don't have it, people will not put money in it. It's about clarity. It's about making sure that you have the right data room available. It's making sure that you have the right value added taking place from your board meetings, access to network and partners, and then you could have others, financial, fiscal, legal. And this is a group, you could go into more subsets. What are the other challenges? The devaluation, competition, etc. So you could see this list. It's a very broad list, and I'm sure all of you will be ticking on this and being able. You all get, by the way, slides. For those who arrived late, slides of all the presentation, and the supporting document will be there. Next slide. Okay, so this, for instance, is one company that I sat on the board, B-Synchro. It's a financial services company. They're working in the insurance space, but also in financial services. Michel is the executive, is actually the founder, CEO of this organization. So what we went through is so they listed the challenges that they have. So they're also, what's important is not only what are the challenges that you face, but what are the corrective action that you're doing to address the challenge. So what I will be asking, this is another template. Give me the challenge and give me what you're doing about it to be able to fix it. So in his case, local customers are not purchasing additional module or new product. So we have to adapt our product to the local hurdle, such as online payment gateway for insured payment, adapt our prices to the local market, propose cheaper support contract, focus on easily sellable low-budget products such as robotic process automation, increase our service offers such as consulting and due diligence so as to add value. So what you do is not only about listing your challenge, what are you doing in order to be able to address it? It's another template. Trust me, when you put this template, after the other template, after the other templates, you have your transformation plan put together. So these are more strategic questions that I'm planting in your heart, in your brain, in order for you to be able to find. And if you don't have the answer and you need facilitation to get the answer, we're here to be able to help you do it. Okay, so now the most interesting one is the one coming. No, go back to Kennedy. I mean, Kennedy came up, when written in Chinese, the word crisis is composed of two characters. So you have two characters. One is danger, or risk that you have, and the other one, the opportunity. And you will always have the two. So in this situation today, you've heard Fuad, when he talked about it, it is a difficult time. We don't know whether the war is going to happen. We don't know whether there's going to be a lot of unknown, but at the same time, it's a great opportunity to be able to make investments. And we work with a number of these companies to help them prioritize those investments. How do you do it? Next slide. So the way we do it is a process. This is a very important process. This is, as a template, you need to master it and you need to understand it, because this is at the heart of why I would like to come and work with you or invent in you. One is you list the different growth opportunities that you have over the next 3 years. Any crazy ideas, list them. Then what we do is we work together to map these growth opportunities, and we have the Ansoff matrix, but we could map it in different ways. We will map them. From the mapping, we will then brainstorm, agree on the selection criteria. What is the screening process that we will use to understand which are the important ones? And then what we have is we have a prioritization table, and we understand what are the low-hanging fruits that we want to implement this year versus next year versus in the future. And at the end, we want to include those into our balanced scorecard. So this process is a process that needs to take place, whether you're a startup, especially when you're a startup, because I need to understand where is your growth going to come from. Or whether you are a more mature organization, and we go this, and this is one of the most important tasks of a board, is to be able to help understand what are the list of the priorities that you're going to be implementing. So not priorities, what are the list of the investments that are going to generate the highest return and the more aligned with your strategic direction. Next slide. So what do we do? What Ansoff Matrix does is we look at your product. What is your product or service that you're delivering today? What are those that you could deliver in the future for your existing market? Then we look at new markets. You could take existing service to new markets, or you could take to new markets, new products. So this is market penetration. Product development is really take products, new products to existing markets. Market development, existing products to new markets. To new markets, this is to new products. And product diversification is we take new products or new service to new markets. So this is one way of mapping. An example of it, this is Anlixa. This is one of the companies, it's a startup. It's like a number of you as a startup. They're going to compete with existing companies. So we list their existing product and service. What are the future product and services they could have? This company is competing with Stotters, and it's getting into the market here. What are the new markets that they want to address, that they have here? It's not only about food, grocery, and pharma. They want to get into pet food, flowers, and coffee, and potentially into new countries where they have customers. And this is new products and new markets that they have. So this example of mapping your growth, you list them, you map them. This is one way of mapping them. What's important is, next slide, is you are able, once you have mapped them, you need to decide how do we go about prioritizing them. So we would list them. We list them. And out of this listing, we look for each one, how much funds you need for each one. We're trying to have a sense of what is the financial return. If I give you this money, what is it going to bring us in terms of incremental either revenue, or it could be incremental impact. So if it's an NGO that has here, it's not. So what is the impact that you're going to create? How aligned is it with our strategy? You know, if our strategy is to reduce poverty, and this one is about, I don't know, something very different in access to food or whatever, we need to make sure that there is a strong strategic alignment with the project or with this investment and the direction of your organization. Execution risk, how easy is it to execute on it? So these are screens. They're not necessarily numbers. The numbers will be here. You need to know how much money you need in order to make it place. You need to know approximately, if I give you the money, what is going to be the generated revenue behind it. And then the others, it's low, medium, high. Low, medium, high, are we strategically aligned, execution risk, and what sort of impact you create. After this, what we do is we go with the executive team and we decide which are the ones that we're going to go ahead, which are the ones that we're going to hold for the moment, which are the ones that we decide we're not going to go after this, and which are the ones that we're taking as a pilot and then deciding after the pilot whether we go through. This is important. It's important whether you have one project or two projects. It's important to help. Why? Because anybody that wants to come, they want to come to see what are you building in your future. So what do you have in your pipeline? If your pipeline to take existing product to existing markets, manna sexy. So so we want to see what are these growth opportunities and how could we help you addressing them. So this table is important. Out of this, next slide. That's this, we then decide, this is what we want to do. This is how much we have in terms of investments, and this is how we present. So we go a step level. So for instance, this was a company, this was part of one of the companies that I was working with. They wanted to invest in digital printing. They were in traditional printing. This is the summary. This is the purpose of the investments. This is a summary high level of what is the financial impact, how much money do we need, and what sort of incremental return we're going to get. What is the internal rate of return? We'll explain to you how to get this. What is the payback period? And it's a combination normally of the two that you have, or it could be the net present value. What are the key assumptions? And then what we have here, how is the strategic alignment? Why is it high? What are the reasons? Financial availability, why is it high? It could be high, it could be medium, it could be low. And what is the operational feasibility? This is normally presented to the board. In all the companies that we work with on the board, this is one of the most important tasks of the board, is to decide whether go or no go on these investment decisions. So the go or no go is that what is the board deciding. But for this, you need to do your homework. And the homework starts in listing, in mapping, in prioritizing, and then documenting the one that you see are best fit. Whatever you're doing, you need to start thinking and acting this way, because this is, at the end, we need to understand where is your growth going to come from. Next slide. Okay, so these are addendum to it. You could, once you have done this, give me the risks. You have your project. We know the amount of money. We decided to go. I want to see what are the risk areas. So tell me what are the risk areas and what is your mitigation plan. And show me what is your Gantt chart. So who is going to do what, by when, so we understand what are the different parts. This is basically project management basics that you have in it, so as to ensure. And then we will ask you about the team. Who is the team that you have with you? What sort of support that you need on it? So this is we have. And then we have a much more detail. We decide to go ahead. If it's an important investment, we want to go into more comprehensive financials. This we will cover tomorrow. So so the whole process, it's about where are your growth opportunities? And out of those growth opportunities, which are the ones that you're going to choose? How do you document them in order to be able to get the necessary approval and the necessary funding behind it? So it's a very important element of any transformation plan, is to help you and your team go through the process of listing and prioritizing your growth opportunities that will generate financial impact, but will also generate social or environment impact that you have. Any question on this? I'm going quickly. Each one of them are templates. Ansoff matrix is a template, what we have. The matrix is a template, go, no go, what we have. The way you provide it in terms of summary is also a template. So you need to get slowly and surely familiarize yourself with this process. But this is important in any transformation journey. Show me where your growth is coming from. Questions to me? Tfaddal.
In the go, no go, and hold.
Yes.
You talked about pilot.
Yes. Pilot is actually a go, but it's not a formal go. Pilot is I trust you, but I'm not sure. So what I want to do is I want you to go and do a trial. So do me the trial, test it to me. Let's come back. So instead of investing, you're asking $200,000. So what does it take in order to build your prototype? Build me the prototype, test your prototype, get me some early customer approval, and then based on this, we decide on a formal go. So it's a way to pilot it. So it's a mixture of, if you want, customer focus group, and in a way, it's design thinking process. Do it, and so get me more data so as I feel more comfortable. Okay, so this is the difference with pilot. It's a proof of concept. Proof of concept that you validate. So proof of concept you validate. Next slide. Okay, so we have this. This is in terms of, okay. So then we go into the value proposition, which is basically you have it. So how do you differentiate with other alternative? So, and a lot of people will tell you, I don't have competition. No, very few companies don't have competition. Very few that exist. They're normally a first mover advantage. But trust me, there is going to be competition around. Next slide. So what we help you here is how do you phrase your competition? So what you look is you look at your current value proposition. You look at whatever changes are needed for you to remain competitive. And then you could look at your transform value proposition. So for instance, in the case of InVenture, Rida has what they started in wanting to provide value-added services in terms of in return for sweat equity from these companies and being able to add value. So their value proposition is we're going to be providing you value-added services. Most of it is going to be technology to drive innovation and to drive the ability to differentiate and to help you in terms of scaling. Then they realized, yeah, جماعة, cash flow-wise, we are investing in all these people that are providing, but we need the cash flow to be able to do it. We got investments from our different funders, but this is not enough. What can we do to adapt it? They decide, let's use this expertise that we have, not only for startups, we could also use it for corporate, and we could generate the cash needed in order to fund our business. So there was a change. This is their value proposition. Actually, we could use this as an example. This is the value proposition that they had initially, focusing on startups, investing, adding value in terms of innovation, technology, deciding that we realize that there are some cash flow constraints. Some of these startups are taking longer time than to be able to monetize those investments. So what we do is we decide we're going to continue our focus on startup, but we're going to start focusing also and working with corporates that have a need for our services and that could be monetized so as to bridge the cash flow. This is a change in their value proposition. It's a change. Next slide. Okay, so this is another way to, and you've seen it. So a number of you have seen it. So what we want to do is, this is where you are. Full circle means at your top. Three-quarter circle means you're very good. You're good in half, and then a quarter, you're fair, and you could have 0 in terms of circle. You list here what are your dimensions of differentiation. You list them, and it varies from one company to the other. Then you put yourself, and then you list 1 or 2 or 3 competitors. Where do you get this? It could be from you. It could be from your customers. It could be from the information that you have on the market behind it. But you need to be able to list the areas of dimension and to list how you are versus competition. Next slide. So this is an example. It was one of the companies that we have worked, Hanan Hote. This was completely different field as yours. This is in terms of fashion that she has. So Hanan was here. So what she did is she listed 2 dimensions on it, floral, traditional versus floral, creative. And she listed here in terms of, what is this? Prices. So low price versus high price behind it. She listed all her competition. This is where she is. So what is your area? What is your battle? What is the battles that you're going to compete and differentiate yourself from? So this is another way of taking the previous slide and putting it in a graphical way. Next slide. Okay. So we're covering. I'm net for كتير. Normally what I would have done for each one of those, I would have stopped and asked you to work on it and then to come back, present, and get feedback. Here I'm presenting them to you one after the other. So it's a lot of information that you're going to take, and you will decide which are the ones that are most meaningful to you. At the end of the day, the accumulation of it is going to be the foundation of your transformation plan. Okay? Are you with me? Should I continue? Another 10 minutes and then we take a short break. Is this okay? Yes. All right? Okay. So this is what we have done. We've done the gap assessment. We've done the milestones. We've done the core competency. We've done the challenges. We've done the key growth opportunities, value proposition. Now, each one of those is a session of 3 to 4 hours. We're doing it here in 10 minutes. So what we do is we do it. We sit down. We review it. We discuss it. We change. We add it. So we are here. We looked at the strategic intent. Now, for strategic intent, it's basically who are you? What are you trying to do to it? So what we have, so it's your vision, your raison d'etre. Why do you exist? Vision, what are you trying to do, to aim at doing, and what are the values that will help you go and do it. So here you're trying to, and we're going to use you an example. When Lama and I decided to set up CS Touch, so our mission, we want to empower social enterprise. So this was important. So our mission is to power social enterprises in Lebanon through advisory, coaching, and funding support needed to catalyze sustainable growth and ESG impact. So what you do is, what is the service? Who do you provide this service? In our case, to social enterprises. What are the benefits behind it? Catalyze sustainable growth and ESG impact. This is our raison d'etre. This is why we exist. This is what we would like to do and continue doing for the years to come. What is our vision? Our vision is a new economic order led by social enterprise. And we're a firm believer that for Lebanon to be able to succeed, a big portion of the economic foundation will need to come from social enterprises in this country. So these are companies, for-profit, non-profit, that are generating an impact and are scalable in their business. We envision a new economic order in Lebanon led by a thriving community of innovation social enterprises driving profound and sustainable innovation, social enterprise, driving profound and sustainable impact. This is our vision to do this. What is our values that we believe? We mentioned those already. Integrity, accountability, and excellence at the heart of our advisory commitment to uplift social entrepreneurs with unyielding pledge to integrity. This is coming back. It's very important. Accountability, balanced scorecard. You want to build our trust. We don't need to agree. You need to deliver on what we agreed. And the way we do it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 meetings. After a series of meetings, we know whether you have it or we don't have it. And we want to make sure that you have excellence in the way we execute. So this is a summary of what we have in terms of our strategic intent for CS Touch. My question to you is, what is your strategic intent that you have? And each one of you would have it in a certain way. You normally, this is the first thing that you start working with on it. So next slide. Okay. So now, we're going a bit fast, but it's okay. Build with me. So what we do is, because of change and because of the crisis, there is a change in terms of the culture. I've mentioned behind it, but each one of you would have done it. So what is today your current culture? The culture is, what are the values that are driving you? What culture do you need to implement your strategy? So you have a new strategic direction that you have set up. What is the gap that you have between the existing culture or the new culture that you want to have? How do we bridge the gap? And how do we get the culture that we want? So this process in terms of cultural change is it's maybe affecting mostly established companies that we work with, but it's also working with scale-ups. Scale-ups are changing the way they're doing, and this change in mindset is important because the culture is the set of values, and these set of values are at the essence of the organization that you led. So you have, so what is the, so in this, no, it's not this. Show me the one, I'll do it. If you have to,
No, it's fine.
Okay. Okay, to do this, this is a nutshell of what we've done this morning. With one of the companies that we have done is we said, okay, so how do you go about deciding what is the new culture? We listed the leadership characteristics. What does it take to be a leader in this organization? We decided to prioritize them. What are the important ones that we have? And then what we have done is assess the leadership along. We ask everyone to assess not only himself or herself, but to assess all the other members of the team. So what we have done then, what we did, is we identified development areas. For each one, there has been development areas, and then we brainstormed on what were the development initiatives that we have, and we listed those development initiatives. And then what we do is we make sure that we assign either a coach or a manager to follow up and helping the leaders in implementing it. So this process is a process in terms of assessing the gaps that you have in your leadership, and this could be at the level of the leader or it could be at the level of the team. Is this team a high-performing team, yes or no? What does it take to be a high-performing team? And what are the gaps that we have and how best to address the gaps? So what applies to the organization also applies to the individual. So this process is a sensitive one. So here, for instance, is a list of leadership characteristics. We prioritize them. We looked at communication. We looked at client orientation, growth mindset, strategic vision, innovation out of the box. You could list whatever you have, but these were prioritized from a list of about 13 to a list of about 9. Then once we have done this, we went in, we took at, these are another real case example of a company that is a scale-up, just raised $300,000, will be raising $1.5 million over the next 6 months on it. We looked at the entire leadership team, so they assessed it. So what we looked at those, they assessed themselves, and they assessed the others. We looked at the average, and then we sat down and said, next slide. So, and then we listed what are these development opportunities. It could be training. It could be mentoring. It could be shadowing. It could be working on a special product. It could be, so you have different ones to be able to look at it. And then what we do is we sit down, we give them the assessments. This is where how you ranked yourself. This is how other people ranked you. These were the key gaps. This will be the development opportunities that we have. This is the ownership, and this is the timing behind it. This is very powerful. It's very powerful to make sure that your team understand what are the gaps that they're facing, and it's very sensitive. So it's important to do it through an external, another party to do this, but it's important because you need to make sure that you have the right team, and this team is properly skilled and properly tooled to be able to do the job. So this leadership assessment is a process, and this morning we spent close to 3 hours with one. Tomorrow morning, I'm sitting down, and we're doing with the same. So we're not only providing the feedback in terms of how they perceive themselves versus the others. We're not only providing them the feedback in terms of the development, but we're asking, and this is something for you to also take in mind, we want 3 S. So for each one of you, what we want you is to give feedback. So when Lama and I started working together, after 3 months or 6 months down the road, we said, okay, Lama, if, as Constantin, if there are, the 3 S is what are the 1 or 2 things that you want me to stop doing? What are those things in terms of our relationship that you want me to stop doing? The second S I ask her is what are the things that you want me to sustain doing? You think I'm doing a good job, this helps you, so what are the things that you need to sustain? The third S, anybody could guess? So we have stop doing, sustain doing, start doing. Yes, so start doing. What are the sort of things that you're not doing I want you to start? These are tough ones. So what you need to do, it's tough ones, so you need to ask. And normally you ask the people that know you the best. Trust me, if you have 5, 6, 7 people who have been working with you for a certain period of time to come up, you're going to get some consistent themes that would help you relook at yourself and see what could be. So this is a way to complement your, and this is only to help you to become a better leader, better equipped leader. So these are all examples or toolkits that you have that are practical, that we have used with many organizations, that it's up to you to decide when is the right time to use in your organization, and you have all the templates in the slide set. Any questions on this? This is sensitive because we're touching about who you are, touching about the essence. Is how do you give and receive feedback without putting your ego in between? And unfortunately, all of us, if you're here and you're successful, Smallah, كل واحد منكم الإيجو تبعكم مسكينه, and I speak the first one on it. Without my ego, I wouldn't have been able to have the career that I had. But I trust me now, at a certain point in time, is how do you get rid, or how do you tan and control your ego? Because it could be more of an impediment to what you want to do rather than an enabler to what you want to do. So the ego portion, and the best way not to get the ego is to have somebody facilitate the session. Because if not, it becomes a bit of, كيف أنا stop doing, but ربّا بهيدي كيف بدي وقف فيها. So you have to go over it, but it's a very important exercise to do. Next slide. Okay, one of the most effective leadership characteristics in moments of crisis is your ability to manage complex change management situation and align your stakeholders on the need for change, the direction and roadmap for change result. So what is it? It's really, at the end of the day, it's a question of change management. So how do you ensure, and we're going to take you through one of the framework to help an organization go through change management. I'm going to describe some of it you know, some of it you don't know, but this has, and trust me, we have gone through, even in organization that I work in, some organization I worked for 20 years. So this is organization, and we went through several changes in this organization, and every time we have a few more. The first thing that you need to do is you need to make sure who are these stakeholders. So map your stakeholders. It could be customers, it could be suppliers, it could be government, it could be public and others. It could be your investors or your employees. So who are those stakeholders? You list them, and then you map them. It's a different mapping than for the growth opportunities. So the mapping here, we look at the stakeholders, and we look at, on one side, the influence that they have on your business. Low influence versus high influence. And you look at the impact, not impacted versus highly impacted. And then you map your different stakeholders. It's also a different exercise to do. Very important. Because once you map them, they have different needs. Then you decide how you're going to address the needs. So your communication plan becomes on those, this is how I'm going to go about communicating to them. This is how I'm going to go. So it's different. Here in this case, leadership of work groups, frequent two-way communication, face-to-face meeting that we have, make it personal. In the one where there is small customers unaffected, newsletter, email, internet. So this is an important framework for you to work on, is how do you go about listing, mapping your stakeholders, understanding the needs, and then when you've done this, what do you do? Your communication plan. And most of the organizations don't have it. So what is a typical communication plan? This is, for instance, an example of Wakilni. This is one of the companies that we have helped work with, and we have helped raise funds behind it, and we're continuing. We have a meeting with other investors. This is a $3 million round that we do in Lebanon for this. So what we have, listed the activity, we listed the timing, we listed who are the participants, what is the purpose of this meeting, who is owning it, and what is the output. And the list of those, and we have it with Kelni, we could show it to you with Majmua, we could show it to you with other organizations, the Bani Group and others. This is examples of what a communication plan is going to be. And this is important because this is how you're going to communicate to the different stakeholders that you have done. And in times of crisis, what is important is the quality, the consistency of your communication to the different stakeholders that you have. Questions on this? I'm going fast on it, but every one of those are templates that you could use and adapt to your organization. Next one. Okay, so this is, go back. So this is stating, I love this sentence. Communicate in crisis. You need to be, when there is crisis, ما تخبوا. Say it first. Don't have rumors start spelling what is going to happen. Say it completely. Don't cut it in small pieces. اليوم بعد جمعة, I'll say something. Say it completely. Say it yourself. Don't have other people say it for you, and say it consistently over time. So and this takes courage. This takes courage to stand up and to be able to face the reality, and you have to do it. But this is quite important, especially in crisis. So what happened in crisis? Initially, people are in denial. يعني شو صار? ليه صار? So this is, and there is a lot of upsetness. This you have seen, a number of you have seen this. I use it because it's very important. And whether it's a breakdown, whether, I don't know, Lama broke up with her husband, which is never going to be the case, of course, or whether you have lost your job, or whether your company is going through a default situation, all of these are moments of crisis that you have. When you have 2 or 3 of these crises, you always go through the same. When you lost somebody in the family, it could be your parents, it could be a loved one, that you have denial. Why? Why me? Why it's happening now? What have I done to deserve this? Then here you have the denial. Then you move to frustration, irritation. This is anger, confusion in here. You have strong emotions. Then you move to acceptance of the new reality, and then you basically are committed to go ahead. Most of the organization and most individuals will go through these 4 phases. Your role as a leader is to avoid the big one and try to do around the dotted one. How do you do this? It's about listening. It's about your ability to listen and to let, for instance, if there is a big shock, we need to find the time to mourn. If you don't give the time to mourn and to exchange and to externalize all these bad emotions that you have, it's going to haunt you in a year or 2 years down the road. So the process, you have to move from this to this by what? By soft skills. So it's about listening. It's about being able to give feedback. It's about receiving feedback. It's about of the soft skills that we're not good at. We're good at technical skills. كل واحد منا اسم الله, we are very strong in technical skills, but in soft skills we're not. So this ability to be able to listen, to embrace, to understand the anger and the confusion and the that happens, it's to help you, because ultimately we're going to get to this and we're trying to get it, but we need to find the time. If you're trying to jump this one, you might get to commitment. Commitment might be here, but not for a long period of time. Next time. Okay, now in all changes, you have 4 profiles. You have one profile, which is the critic. When I started with one of the groups that I've mentioned behind it, you had some people that say, much only it's not going to work, I'm going to prove him wrong, and I'm going to go and get his neck to make sure that it's not working. So you have the critics, and you will have them always. The second one are the victims. Why? Why me? Why it's happening? The bystanders, I'm going to sit on this chair, I'm going to see how Constantin is going to behave, and after a while I'll decide whether or not I'm going to jump ship or not jump ship. You're going to have bystanders, navigators, are the people who embrace the change, are your champion, you're going to go. So you need to decide, where are you? Who are your different people and where do they fit? You focus on the navigators. These are your champions, go. The bystanders, for the moment, they're going to wait and see mode. You try to deal with the critics. This is what we're going to do. This is going to happen. We need you on board. It's very important. Are you or you're not on board behind it? And then what you do is these are the tips that you do in order to help you address those different profiles that you will have in any organization going through change. So why do I mention the change? Because of when we have crisis, with crisis you have change. They used to 1 hour, these are graduate students, Fuad put them on the front row on it, but we're going to take a break. But this is important in terms of the mapping of the existing stakeholder that you have, and what are the tips that you need in order to make sure that they're on board. Next slide. Okay, so color is basically a checklist. What can you do to ensure that change is taking place? One way is you need a sense of urgency. The way I did the sense of urgency is I showed the investment that took place 10 years ago, and I showed what are the results. There was a big sense of urgency. There was severe value destruction that is taking place. Another sense of urgency if you're losing big customers or if you're losing investors. This is a sense of urgency. For instance, in the case of InVenture, some of the investors decided to make a commitment. This commitment was not respected. So this is a sense of urgency. We have a cash flow gap. How do we address it? Sense of urgency. So what is establish a sense of urgency? Form a guiding coalition. So in that case, the coalition, Rida was part, you had the 3 other co-founders. This is who we are. We need to find the 1 or 2, also the head of the technical R&D elements were part of it. Create a vision. This is where we are. This is how we're going to get out of it. Communicate this vision. Articulate it very clearly. Communicate it. Next slide. We're taking a break in 3 minutes, even less. So we are empowering others to act on the vision. So you empower, you delegate, you have your team, your SWAT team. You plan and create short-term wins. You need short-term wins. When you have a change, you need a crisis, you need to have these low-hanging fruits. What are those? And we're going to celebrate around these wins that you have. You consolidate around the wins, and you basically institutionalize into new approach. So it's a cycle, and this is typically this was back 40 years ago. I was a student at the business school, and this was one of and it's still very much applicable these days in what happens. Thank you. Next one. Okay, so look, we covered a lot. The next session that is coming, we're going to take Okay, so we have an hour and a half that to go. We're going to take 10 minutes. This is the most interesting and the most sexy part of the presentation today. So this is basically the shake hand between me and between you. So how do we go about establishing the shake hand? This is the balance scorecard. You could do it in different ways. We'll share it with you and we'll show you. Mitri here, for instance, have created his own balance scorecard. We had other people from Beit el-Bar. Where is Eli? Eli أخذنا من وقتك بعتك هون. So it's لا أنت مخال منيح مش علي. Yes, this is good. I like it. So what Eli will present also his balance. Eli is the general manager of Beit el-Baraka. Beit el-Baraka is an NGO, so non-profit, that has generated substantial impact, but at the same time they have very profitable ventures, and these profits are used to be able to fund others, like providing food, providing medicine, providing to people who don't have the means to do it. So this is an example. We're working with them. We have actually helped them raise funds to be able to finance one of their next growth opportunities that they have. So I'm having Eli come and describe to you how he has been using these tools and how it's been helping his organization. 10 دقائق. Take your break. Come back. في عنا بعد ساعة وثلث. It's going to go very fast. Thank you. Okay, please take your seat. I know it's a lot of data. It's okay. It's okay. It's a lot of data. وهالداتا رح تستعملوهم. Trust me. You will come back to it. You'll come back. It's like we're giving you a library of different templates with different ways that you could apply it in your own company. وكل واحدة منا is actually a thinking process مهمة. So what you're going through, not only alone with your team, is important. I've introduced Elias. I said Eli, غلبتنا يا Elias. So Elias تفضل. Elias is the CEO of Beit al-Baraka and Beit Kenz, and he's going to share with you the process that he went through in order to be able to build this financial sustainability and continue the excellent work that they have been doing over the past 2 years in not only creating financial impact and sustainability, but also maximizing their social impact. تفضل إلياس.
But yes, I'm sorry. For those of you who are not able to fill the emails on using the QR code, please make sure you enter them so that we can send you the documents at the end of the workshop. So here we have papers for you to fill in the emails. Thanks.
Bonsoir. هلا يلي رح نعمله رح نطفي الأضوية ونوزع درينكس على الكل ونعمل ستاند اب كوميدي. عم يمزح معكم. لا, really, the bad news is we're still getting loads of information, but the good news is that we're gonna do it in a different way. ما رح أعمل monologue, so it's going to be a bit interactive for those who are interested. Simply, I'm gonna share with you a sample of the balance scorecard يلي عنا اليوم بكنز بيت البركة يلي هي social enterprise يلي هدفها انه تخدم بيت البركة. So we will start simply by asking why having the balanced scorecard. عم بسألكم أكيد أو إذا بدك بحكي أنا وحدة. Exactly, it's a measurement tool. So for me personally, my own understanding of the balanced scorecard is cascading the strategy into actions, into KPIs and KSIs. يعني فينا نقول simply, okay, we want to create jobs, 10,000 jobs. We want to have social impact. We want to sustain the activities of Beit al-Baraka. بس كيف? So it's a measurement tool, one. It is a tool, very simple tool, by the way, Excel, nothing fancy. It's not a consultancy that is worth $100,000 by Deloitte or McKinsey. It's very simple, very easy. The purpose is to reduce tension. The purpose is to reduce tension and to have more clarity for the team على الactions يلي لازم يعملون. And for me, as someone who's leading the company, leading the organization, to have a direction, to have coherence between all departments and all the verticals يلي من other إنه they should be in the balanced scorecard. So I'm gonna go to our balanced scorecard يلي هن تقريبا عنا إياهم هن ذاتهم هون: financial excellence, customer excellence, operational excellence, and employee engagement. And if someone please can volunteer and give me an example how simply two of those can be connected from your own business, your own experience.
Very simple. I start with employee engagement. The more I take care of my employees, I train them, develop them, help them to grow, then they will do excellent with the customers and they will serve them the best way possible. And this is very simple.
Excellent.
As he said, they are all connected. If you satisfy your employees, if you keep selling, you satisfy your customers, then the revenues will keep increasing. Thus, the financial excellence will occur. Operational excellence will occur if your employees are not satisfied and with their job. They are all connected.
Amazing. So نحن السنة بكنز this year at كنز بيت البركة our utmost objective is to provide an amazing customer experience. How do we want to provide an amazing customer experience? We will go ground up مثل ما قلتوا exactly. We will train our employees. We will have amazing employee engagement. هلا بتشوفوا ال KPIs يلي ساعدنا فيهم كونستانتين ولما حطيناهم. Then employees will drive change management, operational excellence. فنقدر نوصل للزبون and eventually sales will come. So this is a double-edged sword, but إنه في مثل quote بقول the less you care about sales, the more you make. So we care if we care more about people. We care more about trainings. عنا 3 من شبيبتنا اليوم معنا هون بالtraining. So the more we care about people, training and developing their own skills, the more they will be able to drive change and they will be empowered to have more delegation and more authority to take action and decisions.
Question.
تفضل.
So as I see here in the catering balance scorecard, you have all the 4 aspects are linked to each other. So the financial is linked to the customers and so on and so forth. But the first question is to satisfy our shareholders. What should we do in terms of financial and so on and so forth? But what are the criteria that satisfies our shareholders? I don't see it. So how can I answer such a question? So
هلا رح تشوفها.
What are the criteria of satisfaction for our shareholders?
Okay. The most basic answer to your question is dividends. صح? Profits. One of them. Maybe you will have a board of shareholders who are really concerned in impact and making social change. In our case, I don't have shareholders to satisfy. لأنه نحن the purpose of our existence and the reason of our existence is to support the activities of بيت البركة. So عندنا 3 أشياء بنركز عليهم. One, to create jobs from our activities. Okay? نحن يعني the very visible and direct impact يلي فيي اقول لك عنه اليوم انه we have 74 jobs within كنز بيت البركة. يعني عندك اليوم 74 عائلة عايشين من وراء الاكزيستنس من وراء شغلهم بالهالاكزيستنت انتيتي يلي اسمها كنز بيت البركة. بنروح ابعد. let's say كنز جورمي. عندنا أكثر من 35 تعاونية كأوب بكل لبنان بياخدوا منا بضاعة. So we're helping them also to sustain financially. محمد نشتغل معه من بعلبك بنشتري منه بضاعة موجود معنا بالتريننج وغيره. كنز لايف ستايل. How many artisans هلا صار عنا عم نشتغل معهم؟ For example, so this is our dividend. Our founder Maya is not looking to put money in her pocket. I'm like in my case, but really the most basic question to your answer to your question, is dividends. أرباح. Shareholders بالآخر بدهم return on investment. So now we can go to our example. في عندك أرقام. Okay? So if we can just zoom هيك شوي صغيرة تنقشع أكتر. Out. بالعكس نقشع اشياء اكثر. اوكي قاشعين all good. بطلنا قاشعين. طيب اوكي رح نقرب شوي.
This is just to show the structure. So financial excellence, customer operation and employee, and then we have the list of KPIs and the list of KSIs, key strategic initiatives.
Okay. All right. So financial excellence, let's say this is our balanced scorecard. What we had last year, as we said, it's a measurement tool. What is the growth that we want to do this year? what is my job, what is the impact that I want to do on the gross profit, financial excellence of the company. شو يلي لازم أنا أعمله تقدر تخلي هالشركة بالactivities تبعها بالavailable resources with the available team make more money. Operating income بده يطلع 6%, and what is the amount of cash that I need to have on hand within the company at the end of the year. For me personally, this is a very important aspect. Why? في حدا يقول لي ليش لازم يكون معنا كاش دائما بلبنان؟
So many unforeseen. But the lack of employee
This is separate from the understanding of the economic cycle and the availability of banking facilities. بس يلي عم بقولوه الشباب cash flow, risk, حرب, وقف الشغل بالبلد, مظاهرات. So we need always to have money, cash, to pay all our liabilities, to pay all our salaries, and to be able to sustain the hard times. So for me personally, this is a very important KPI كون عم بقدر حققه أنا للشركة بآخر السنة. أوكي؟ هون عنا actions وعم نشوف الأخضر يعني we are on track. هيدا اللون يلي هو عادة شوي جاي على بريك يعني it is in process. Okay? So close the fundraising round. It's for Q2 بعد ما بلشنا فيها بس بدنا مصاري بعد. And board governance come in to review. This is something that we're doing with Constantin. Update the financial model. هلا بفرجيكم تحت كمان what's beautiful about numbers, how we can read them and how we can take actions after reading the numbers. بنروح على customer excellence. Customer retention in 2023 we were not able to track. Why this is important? لأنه retaining a customer will cost us much less than acquiring a new one. And in Lebanon, we are all competing on the very small chunk of customers يلي عندهم buying power. So keeping our customers happy is very important for us and will create more some kind of perpetuity أو recurrent revenue لنا. Follower base بدنا نكبرها من 27,000 ل 35 let's say. So why? Because again, this is a conversion from a lead or prospect or someone who learned about us on the social media.
Sorry to interrupt you. In order to understand trading your activities, can you shortlist like what do you do in Beit Baraka? Is it like for supporting beneficiaries for goods?
حق علي مرة الماضية سألت مين بيعرف بيت البركة هالمرة ما سألت هالسؤال. Okay. So very quickly, we've been existing for 5 years. We had impact of over more than 200,000 families in Lebanon. We helped more than 18,000 students in education. So the 4 pillars in education, livelihood, free pharmacy, and agriculture. So هيدول هن يلي بنشتغل فيهم كتار شوي. We aim to have some kind of circular economy, sustainability for the NGO. And we were very, very active after the explosion. We were able to fix 3,000 units, including more than 600 small businesses. So it is a non-profit يلي في حدا for profit يلي عم نحكي عنها هون. So هيدي الانتيتي اللي عم نحكي عنها هون that we're talking about is كنز بيت البركة. بلبنان there's no form of social enterprise. It's a one owner SRL. عندها 3 أهداف. Expand, create jobs, support the activities of Beit al-Baraka. Without expanding, we cannot create more jobs. We cannot support the activities of Beit al-Baraka.
So you support the activities of
We support the activities of the NGO. Clear? Okay. Bonus لإلي. Tahiti. Okay. So DIO مرة الماضي حكينا عن DIO. We want to decrease our inventory. Hala and Joseph are on a mission to decrease the cycle of the inventory. In order to also it will reflect on having more cash on hand. So بدل ما يكونوا مصرياتنا جامدين بالجلدة بكون معنا إياهم نقدر نشتغل فيهم أكتر. Wasted and breakage, because we operate a restaurant, we have a lot of breakage and we have a lot of waste. يلي هي 3% over the total turnover, الرقم يلي شفته قبل شوي, it can make a big difference on the P&L and on the cash that you have at the end of the year. Okay, client complaint. We started this year. We're not able to measure yet. منشان هيك ما عنا بعد KPIs. Alignment with procedures and tasks. We started an internal working group. قولوا لي بس قديش. We need to wrap. Okay. So we have an internal working group يلي هو شغلته يعمل change management يلي عم نحكي عنه. So let's go very quickly into the employee engagement. And thank you, Constantin, for last time. كنا قايلين عنا employee retention بدنا نطلع from 88 to 90%. Constantin said, no, you don't only have employee retention, you have top talent retention. And these are the people that matter most for the organization and that do the high pay of activity for the organization. So إذا بننزل شوي صغيرة لتحت بنشوف نحن, and we started this year intensively, not only with Constantin, مع ناس ثانيين كمان, training our people. And if you want to train your people, there is a lot of free trainings that you can find in the country and really impactful trainings. And hire for key positions كنا حاطينها ل Q3 بس I will take 5 more minutes. Okay? 3. يلا خلينا ننزل لتحت نشوف الأرقام. طلع الفرق بيني وبينك انه انت كثير سريع انا كثير بطيء. اوكي. سو عندنا مثلا هون and هول dummy numbers. عندنا هون طلعنا على this stream قلنا اوكي we have a target, we have an actual بس ما عندنا a profit, so our marginal benefit will start beyond the 340k. قلنا انه it's a note, revenues should be increased to 500k to make this unit profitable. So instead of going to the recruitments, the 2 key positions that will generate revenue for the company in Q3, we did them now. لأنه in Q3 it's going to be too late. I need to open this for 1 minute. We have a calendar for all the activities that we're doing that will be customer facing for the year. Holy will help all the concerned stakeholders يكونوا عارفين شو عم بيصير. أمتين وأمتين بده يشوفوا الزبون. So a simple calendar, a simple Excel sheet can, if you do it, give clarity to all your stakeholders, to all the teams that are involved in any activity, and it will increase their readiness to act when the time is there. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. We see this is a clear example. So what is it? So it's the agreements between Elias and his key stakeholders. So who are his stakeholders? There's going to be, they might not be shareholders, but they have people who will be investing. You know, as Constantin, I'm investing in his organization. I have 10 other friends who've decided, business angels, to invest in his organization. So in some ways, it's a level of measurements. This is what are we going to do. So in terms of financial excellence, these are the revenues, these are the profit that we generate. For this, Constantin, I need help on fundraising. For this, Lama, I need help on your governance structure. How can we extract more values behind it? So part of it is pure measurement. We call them KPIs. And the other one are initiatives that are breakthrough initiatives like fundraising, like having a new board in place that would help. On shareholders, so this is the financial excellence. On customers, what is he doing to broaden his portfolio of products or services that he's delivering? And what are the measures of customer satisfaction or customer retention? This balanced scorecard is an example of what you have here. So you have the KPIs. These are the 4 categories. One is your investors or shareholders if you have. The second one are your customers. The third one is the efficiency by which you run your organization. And the last one is how do you retain your talent. These are specific measures. In his case, we have agreed on a certain revenue and profit target. We have agreed on a number of followers that he has to reach. We've agreed on a certain level of customer satisfaction that we'll have. We also have agreed in terms of what is the level of waste that needs to be done and what is the level of satisfaction and retention of his employees. These are measures, and we report it either on a quarterly basis or we report it on an annual basis depending on these measures. And here are the breakthrough projects. 2, 3, 4 projects Don't forget about the list here, even if you don't read it. In here, he wants to raise funds. In here, he wants to make a full functioning board. Over here, he wants to implement a franchising because he wants to take, for those of you who have visited Beit Gans, to take it and to franchise it across different countries and different regions. So these are the list of initiatives. Then when it's agreed, he presented to the board, and then we work with him to make sure that we implement it. So it's not only his responsibility, the ownership will be him as a CEO, Maya as a founder, ourselves as an advisory team, etc., across these different initiatives. So what is this? It's a handshake between Elias and between us and between other stakeholders that are present. This balanced scorecard in one single, do we have a short slide, other? So what you have here in the case of Wakilni, we have agreed on the, this is the measures. In the case, we have some measures in customer satisfaction, in response time, in churn rate of customers, customer acquisition in terms of new customers, and other measures to do on the efficiency and on the retention and development of our people. So my question to you, you don't need it to have it as big. You could have one or two measures. What are those measures that are critical in terms of the process that you want to implement? And let's agree with them up front and have this monitored over the course of the year. So this is in terms of the KPI. This is an example. In the case of Wakilni again, this is the project. We're going to do a pre-Series A. We've completed it. So this was done. We're doing the Series A this quarter. Actually, it'll be next quarter. This is about $3 million. This is an important initiative. هيدي ما بدها وقت بدها شغل بدها ناس فيها. So this is what we're going to raise. We want to finalize the share registration. They also want to put in place board governance that you have, launch new services. They want to get maybe into new countries or new market space. They will have Jordan expansion here in terms of automation, what they're going to do. So all of these ones, what you do is you have the list of it, you have the ownership, and you have also the timing that takes place. Then it's all clear. On one slide, it's all clear. This is where we are. This is what we're going to implement. This is who is going to help. When we have CS, it's my own initials are not there. Y is Yusser, who is the CEO on it. So, and this is how it works. For a startup, it would work for a scale-up, and it would work for a mature organization. You're going to hear who is the CEO of the Bane Agri, who's coming on a different topic, not on this one, but what did it take for him to sustain financially in terms of his organization. This sort of methodologies is also applied for large established group and mature group. Next slide. Okay, so this is another example. This is a company, this is a hospital. So what you do is once you've set it, عملنا واتفقنا, then we have to monitor it. How are we doing? So the way we do it, it's green. This is our target. This is the actual. Are we on track or are we behind track? And if we're behind track, what can we do to be on track? So it's not only a question of having your balanced scorecard, but on a quarterly basis, we update it. Why is this important? Because this is the opportunity for you to get help. To get help from your boards, to get help from advisors that you need. You need to have more resources behind. So we do it with the KPIs, we do it with the KSIs by looking at it. And so you could see from the colors whether we're on track or not on track. Next slide. So this one here is on revenue growth, market share, etc. So some of them are off track versus budget. And if they're off track, why are they off track? And what are we trying to do without it? So this is one way, and you could keep it simple. You could keep it to one slide with one page, listing 2 or 3 measures and 2 or 3 initiatives, and then reporting how good are you in implementing those. Why is this important? Because this is the level of accountability. And this is normally what most companies push back. I don't want, because this becomes, it's very clear whether we're on track or we're not on track, and what can we do in order to be able. So it's accountability, but it's also an opportunity for you to seek help whenever you need help. Next slide. So these are all templates. The final one on this is that in order to summarize it, not only about the balanced scorecard, it's basically, if you want to put in one slide what you stand for, we called it the strategy house. Some of you have seen it already. Here you have a vision and mission. We shared you some examples, ours example and others. Here are the values that are important for you as an organization. What are the strategic priorities? These are your pillars. So what are those pillars? It could be about growth. It could be about fundraising. It could be about new product or new market access. And behind each of those, you will have 2 or 3 initiatives that is supporting it. And then you might have some support initiatives. On one slide, you try to summarize everything that you would like to communicate to your organization in a simple way. So this is one example of another template that you could be using. So we have covered now a number of topics. Elias, thank you. He showed what we're doing with Beit Baka. We just started the process, although they have been working with the team and doing a great job so far. And what we need to do now is how to build it on it and having this foundation in place in terms of accountability, in terms of governance, to ensure that we could have sustainability. Any questions to either Elias or myself? Yes? The balanced scorecard, you could have four, you could decide how many, you could have no pillars. What you could decide is you have, Constantin, look, we have, these are the 2 or 3 measures which are important to me. It's going to be about the revenue, or it could be number of customers. You decide what you want to do. This is a way, why? Because it goes back in terms of who are your stakeholders. And your stakeholders are typically your customers, your people, the shareholders or the investors, and what are the suppliers or the partners who help you in terms. So this is one way. But I'm not at all, I leave it up to you. What I am for is tell me what is for you the 2 or 3 most important measures that you will deliver, and tell me what are these initiatives that you want to implement. This for me is what matters. And most importantly, because once we do this, tell me how I can help, where I can contribute. Because the whole point of doing this is to have also a roadmap, not only for you, but where you need help. So then we could sit down, we might help you here, and we could help you here, or you could help you there. So this will be a way for you to get alignment with the different stakeholders, transparency in terms of how you're delivering it, and this is where I need support. Jamea, I need support here and here and here. لا وحدة ما رح أعملها. So this is what Elias is coming straight. I mean, he said, Constantin, بعد بدنا مصاري. لمينا 200,000 بده so he wants more, and he's right. So what we want to do is we want to have this thing, so because he needs, and the only way for us to have help is let's agree on what is important for you, and let's see where we could help. Did I answer the question? Any other questions?
This is also the strategy house. This is also a key tool for fundraising.
It is also because you keep it simple. You know, we're going to go to the pitch deck on the 3rd day, a half day. You will have it. So this is a way you need to keep things simple. The more simpler they are to be able to understand, the greater your chance to convince the people to come. So simplicity always is at the core of this. Okay. Okay. Where are we now? We have John now. Okay, so what I've been working with John and with John Fawaz is the group CEO for the Bane Agri. So the Bane Agri is a diversified group, one of the leader in terms of the agriculture. Their customers are primarily the farmers that we have, not only in Lebanon, but across the region. So, and he has the challenge of being present in the most, what I call exotic or challenging areas. Iran, Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, Algeria, and you have other countries that here. So it's to be able, how do we go? And all of these countries went through what I call different challenges. It could be drought that affecting the farmers. It could be financial crisis. It could be the ability to be able. So you have a number of issues that could be macroeconomic and others. What I'm asking you is to come and to share with you some of the practices or some of the tips that he has in terms of how do you help sustain financially when the situation of the environment around you is going through some difficult challenges. So this is the view that you have from the CEO of the organization. So we have John. How long do you need? About?
You told me 5 to 10 minutes.
5-10 minutes is okay. بدك المايكرو تفضل. John, thank you for being with us.
No problem. Thank you. It's a pleasure. Okay. Hi, guys. Thanks for your time. And thank you, Constantin, for giving me this opportunity. Constantin gave me 5 to 10 minutes, so I'm going to take you through what kind of actions you can take on times of crisis. And I'm sure you've been living in Lebanon and you know what we've been through. So I'm going to be very, very quick. But however, you have any questions, I'll be more than happy and ready to answer your questions. Okay. Do you have any remote or not just here? No. Doesn't work? Okay.
I can do it for you.
Okay, no problem. No, it's okay. It's okay. I'll handle it. Okay, no problem. Okay, first let me give you an idea about who we are. The Bani Agri is a 72 years old company that started in 1956 by George the Bani, and today his sons are handling the operation. Okay, we're available in 6 countries, which I'm gonna show you in a while. And basically what we do, we sell agricultural inputs to farmers, being fertilizer, crop protection, biological product, digital farming, all these things. We sell input to the farmers, and the farmers will sell the output, which are the crops. Okay, sorry, I skipped this one. Okay, this will give you an idea how the holding is split. We have 2 divisions. The first division is the agri, and the second division is the public health or the pest control operation. In the agribusiness, we have 6 countries. We started in 1952. We opened Lebanon, and when the war started in Lebanon, then we opened Syria. Then we moved to Iraq, Iran, Algeria, Jordan. We have these 6 countries opened under the agri division. And under this division, we have the headquarters is based in Cyprus. The brand name is Buckler, and we do public health services in Iraq. We started in Iraq, and our aim is to expand outside Iraq. So basically, this is who we are. Now I will take you about the challenges and what are the impacts that on us, those challenges that we faced in this part of the world, what impacts they had on us, and what type of actions that we took in order for us to alleviate and manage to maneuver and weather this storm, okay? Of course, we all know what the first thing that happened. We had the hyperinflation, currency devaluation. Then this is a huge hit, big hit on any business, especially in an agriculture business where we deal in markets that's based on credit. All farmers, they cannot pay on cash. You have to bear this in mind. And we have large credit cycle. It's around 9 months to 1 year, which is the basic problem when you have currency devaluation and you have money on the market, and this is the biggest problem usually you face. The second challenge, and of course those are not by order of importance because they are all as important. We had, of course, all the facilities were stopped and all the money at the banks were frozen. And you know, all of you know that, even at a personal level. So now you can imagine how much will have impact on the business. Especially we are agent for multinationals like Syngenta, which is the biggest company in the world in terms for the crop protection. We are agent for Bayer, for SQM, for Yara. All those, you cannot delay the payment, whereas our money is stuck at the bank and we can do anything about it. Even no more facilities, you know that. The third one is the climate change. Climate change with the economical and financial crisis or no, there is a climate change trend which is affecting the whole area, even the whole world. And I'm sure of those of you who knows about agriculture, even Europe this year, they had a big hit. Even in Europe, France and Spain, which are the biggest 2 countries in terms of agriculture, they had a big hit, and they were importing. Imagine, this is the first time I hear about it, that Spain importing tomatoes, which has never happened before. Okay, then we have, of course, when you have problems in the market, the first thing that starts happening is the smuggling, because they start introducing products that are cheap, that are not registered, and that's why I've written here non-certified product, because they're just bringing them from, for example, China, which are not registered, just they do them smuggling in order to sell cheap product, because the farmer is just looking for, because the prices in the market, they didn't increase in line with the increase in the cost of production. Hike in raw material prices, and now this is getting even worse with what's happening in the Red Sea. And if you remember, since last 2-3 years, one container, it used to cost like $1,000 for those of you who knows about importation. Today, for the same container, you pay even more than $10,000. So just for you, the cost of logistics skyrocketed. If the fuel, the oil, the barrel was at $25. Today, it's a close $80 to $100 it reaches. So the prices of raw material increased, the cost increased. However, the selling prices, given the hyperinflation and the currency devaluation, the prices in the market didn't go in line with the cost with the increase in the cost. And last but not the least, we have refugees, and you can add here also we've been through Corona. So I just chose like the top 6 problems that we are facing. Refugees, of course, they're putting a lot of strain on the economy in terms of water, in terms of electricity. All those are also impacting the farmers. Farmers, they cannot compete with Syrians that they will accept to work at a cheaper rate, and this is also putting a lot of pressure on them. All these 6 challenges, what happened to us on the market? Of course, there is a drop in arable land. The first year this happened, the arable land dropped to 42%, which means that almost 58% of the land were not planted. This is improved later on, but this is just to give you an idea. At the beginning of the crisis, only 42% of the land were planted, and 58% of the farmers, they stopped planting. Anyway, some of them, they couldn't find products in the market, or they couldn't afford to pay dollars. You know, the Lebanese pound one day, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. They were just not being able to catch up. Second challenge is the drop in total market. And of course, when the arable land dropped, the total market size dropped. So now we have a smaller pie that we're going to share among ourselves. Third one is the brain drain, and which is a big challenge when the crisis started. Of course, we had a brain drain before, but things started improving. Then again, now we have a brain drain. If you're going to look for a qualified technical guy, you won't be able to find it because Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and are hunting and so can you imagine a company working in? I chose only Lebanon because Constantin asked me, because I'm going to take you through the 6 markets where we operate. They're all problematic markets. We'll talk only about Lebanon. Okay, we looked at this. Of course, you can say, oh my God, what shall we do? This will even you go into depression. But of course, you have to map the problems and start looking at them of how you want to address them one by one. Of course, one more thing, which is, and the market shifted from large player to smaller player because, as I mentioned earlier, larger players, they have high brands, and the smaller players, they have the cheapest brands. So this is where there's the shift. Okay. I have only this slide, which will summarize the actions that we took in order for us to overcome the challenges. At least we couldn't overcome them, but at least we minimized their impact on the business. The first asset that we have is our manpower. In our business, our people are our asset, like many other organizations. But of course, in agriculture, the engineers and the qualified engineers make the whole difference. Okay? The first thing we did, we started converting the salaries into fresh. We had the first lump sum amount of money that we converted immediately, and then we started added a certain percentage 1 month after another. Because also, as a company had the hit, we didn't have even the cash available in order for us to pay the suppliers. Tens of millions of dollars of LCs stopped. So imagine a company selling $100 million cannot have one day with facility, the second day without facilities. It's almost impossible. So in order for us to retain our staff, the first thing we started, we converted the salaries into fresh dollars, and then we started improving little 1 month, let's say 5%, 7%, 6%, 1 month after another month in order for us to retain. And of course, what we managed to also to do, our hypos, we continued on developing them and working on them, staying close to them and training them. Because a lot of people, they don't only care about the money, also people, they need some development. So we focused on development of the hypos, which were already identified, so we focused on that. This is at the manpower level. And then at the also manpower level, during Corona and even when the war started, we started preparing an emergency plan. Okay, if anything happened, how the staff will go, where they will be reporting, how they will be working from home. We issued IDs for them during Corona in order for them to be able to move. So for every crisis, we had an action plan, which is a contingency plan, an emergency plan, in order for the staff to follow. And this was a written emergency plan that was given to each and every person. If this happen if they strike in the south, for example, and they start moving towards Beirut. This part of the employee, they will be reporting here, those will be reporting there. So we have organized in turn for the staffing. The second one, the portfolio. You look at your portfolio. What we did first, we optimized the portfolio. Any products that are not necessarily a must to have, we had to take them out in order for us to be able to pay the suppliers that are strategic suppliers. Then we streamlined the portfolio. We started, because of the smuggling, then you need to differentiate yourself from the competition in the market. We started looking at digital farming. We started looking at the biological product, introduced them into the market. We were doing that, but we focused more and we moved faster at this level.
What do you mean by digital farming?
Digital farming is when you, farmers, you have the traditional and the digital. In traditional, you just water and then you spray based on your experience. In digital farming, you follow on the satellites. You know when you need to water. You know when you need to spray. Like this, you spray less. You use less water. So we use sensors and satellite, and you give those advices to the farmers. For your info, because I'm sorry for the limited time, I couldn't take you through everything. We have installed 127 weather stations in Lebanon. Those stations, we installed them for Lari. And Lari, they send bursts to the farmers when there is a disease coming and when it's going to rain, when there is... So this is called digital farming. Okay? Digital farming is also, limberish, the tapes that they water, they can have a normal tape or you can have the drip irrigation. So it is an advanced system that you can save on water, you can save on crop protection, you can save on fertilizers, you can save on a lot of things, and this is called digital farming. And anyway, this is the future. The way this part of the world is operating, it's unsustainable. They cannot continue this way. Supplier relationship, okay, you have to be honest about it. The first day we had the problem, then we have to write a clear report to our suppliers of what's going on. And we have a quarterly review with them and we send them quarterly report. We kept them involved of the riots are happening, the hyperinflation, how much the dollar, and you need to be honest about it because those guys, they need to know whether they will be receiving their money or not. Or anyway, in our case, we had a very good name. Of course, all of you know the Benny is a very solid name. We didn't have problem, but still, you cannot take things for granted. You have to keep your suppliers informed and keep them with full transparency of what's going on in the market. So this is at the level of the manpower I covered, the portfolio I covered, and then we move at the level of the commercial. And then, of course, this is going to have an impact on our commercial policy. What did we do with our commercial policy? The first of all, we looked at our customers and those they were low performers, that they are problematics in terms of payment. We had to take them out and we focused on the 80-20. Of course, all of you know the Pareto's rule. Then we focused on those that they generate turnover and those they pay on time. You focus on that because now you have limited resources. You have to choose with whom you deal. The second one, we focused on the customers that they can pay in fresh dollar because not we are greedy, but we have to pay the supplier and we need fresh dollars and no fresh dollars are available. And we focused also on NGOs at that time. Unlike now, NGOs, they were at that time supporting the market and putting some money. So we had to look at NGOs and exporters. Why exporters? Because they export product and they bring in fresh dollars. They can pay you abroad where you can pay your suppliers. Number 4, sales strategy shift. We shifted our sales to cash and short-term credit. We used to give credit terms for 9 months to 1 year. We stopped that. Now we only sell on cash or limited credit for limited number of clients, like 2-3 months, and that's it. We couldn't continue during this crisis with credit sales. Price management, with the change in the prices on the currency rate, also we have to follow up on our prices and adjust our prices accordingly. When you have a huge devaluation, then your prices has to follow. Okay? So at the level, we had these 4 actions that we took at the level of prices. We covered manpower, portfolio, and commercial, and now we move to the financial part. Receivables. We had a task team where we go and collect our receivables as much as possible. Even in many cases, we had to give discount. Doesn't matter. Collect your money.
Providing them with fresh dollar salaries and providing wages. Also, you mentioned that you settled your outstanding balances for the suppliers, outside suppliers. Did these measures come before, for example, putting the collection plan and the pricing strategy? Did you use a new injection of cash to sustain? Did you raise a new fund? Did you bring in a new partner? Or you reduce your profits? Or you use the existing money? What did you do?
No, we didn't bring any partner. The company is still owned by the same shareholders, the five brothers, the Beni. We didn't bring any new investors. We used the cash that we used to collect in order to settle. But I mind you that we are available in 5-6 countries. So we have a central, then we can use some money wherever we need it to pay some suppliers. But usually, majority of the fund, we make it, of course, the business shrunk. Okay, we had a huge amount of money in the market. We used that amount of money to settle the banks and to retain our engineers. Because in our business, if you lose your engineers, you close the company. Okay, you can't. I'm telling you, the talent is, that's why I started with the manpower, our asset. We don't have buildings, we don't have machineries. What we do, we invest in those guys. Those guys, if they go to a farmer and they will tell him, you buy this, they will buy it. Okay, because this engineer told him. And they trust this engineer because he's an engineer. It's like a doctor. When you have a hospital, if you have good doctors in a hospital, it's exactly the same. Engineers are doctors, but they treat plants like a doctor treat a human beings. Okay? I managed to answer your question?
Sure. You said that it's market diversification mainly that helped you to pay your bills.
No, all those help me to pay my bills.
Of course. Prior diversification. Till the plan took effect in the Lebanese market, the collection, the price management, the portfolio
optimization, streamlining. Yeah.
Yes, this plan needs time to take effect, right? However, till it takes effect, you borrowed cash from other markets to settle your.
No, I just if you allow me. This plan, if you look at it, maybe some of them they need some time, which is only the portfolio. But others, given our experience, mind you, we operate in Iraq. In Iraq, we had Daesh invading Iraq in 2014. We lost 2/3 of the country was receivable there. So basically, that's what I mentioned there. When you have something in writing as a contingency plan, we had a contingency plan, and this is a contingency plan. We looked at manpower. We said, those guys, no way, over my dead body, they will leave the company.
So your advantage was that you had this issue before.
We have experience. That's experience. Okay, we work in this part. I'm saying we cover 10 countries. We're available in 6 countries. We have the experience, and it's a 72 years old organization. It's not like we started yesterday. There is a big experience, a wealth of experience. The thing what we happened the first day, we had a small committee. We organized ourselves and we started drafting this plan. Some people work on the commercial policy. Some people are the product management. They work on the portfolio. The HR worked on the manpower. It's not a one. I said all the time. I'm saying we. It's a group work. You have HR, you have product management, and you have sales team, and you have the finance team. So we had like 4 teams. Each team is working on a different set of actions, and those actions were simultaneously they put together. So. Converting the salaries into dollar, that's happened the second month from the crisis. You can't keep people wondering whether they will earn salary or no. You can't keep it. You have to give them, otherwise they will be lost and you can lose them. As I mentioned, we can't afford to lose them. And did I manage to answer your question? No. The last one, I'm sorry, but I'm moving fast because of the time limitation. The action on the financials part. So we had a very strict receivable plan, and as I mentioned, we had like a task team to collect the money and convert that money either into cash to buy product or to settle the bank facilities. Here I mentioned we started settling the bank facility, and this crisis, the positive thing about this crisis is that we managed to reduce substantially our, if not finished all our credit facility. Financial monitoring, cash flow, we used to have a cash flow on weekly, on monthly. Every day we change our cash flow because there is no way you can estimate what's happening in the market, the currency rate. So it was like an ongoing cash flow. And the last one is cost optimization. We cut on cost of those items that they will need to be cut, that they will have no impact on the business. For example, if you have, we had like 6 trial stations. If I take out 2 trial stations, that's no big deal about it. You can take out 2, you can take out 3, and you can leave 1 depending on the weather in each area. So you can look at your expenses because when you're living a normal day, you will not really pay attention to those small items. You can close a weather station from here. You can close a point of sale from here. You can cut some cost, and this can be very helpful during crisis. Mind you, during crisis, guys, you go to the basics. And this is basically what we did. We went back to the basics. Look at your manpower, look at your portfolio, and focus on your basics and make sure that the company is solid in order to weather this storm so you can survive after it. Okay?
What was the hardest decision you had to take?
All of them are, basically, all of them are hard decisions. But thank God we didn't have to terminate people. This is what I will thank God for it. During all this crisis, we didn't terminate people. And thank God, though we reached many places where we were talking about it, but every time we say, no, we don't do that, it's against our... I thank God we didn't have to take that decision. But the balance, of course, they are all difficult. Imagine yourself, you're going to a customer, you used to deal with this customer for, I don't know, 20 years, 25 years, you will tell him, now I have to sell you on cash. Okay? That's not easy, and then you have to face them, and then... But honestly speaking, if you look at them one by one, I believe I managed here, and this, of course, this is not everything we did, but at least I managed to summarize for you the main action point that if you look at them will help you get through more or less in the crisis that I've managed to.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What are the key messages? What's here? It's a typical template.
Never give up.
Where is the micro? Okay. First of all, thank you. Thank you. And I tell you, this is Lebanon, but as he said, he's present in 6 different countries. And some of these countries have challenges even stronger than what we have here in Lebanon. So trying to be able to manage crisis across different geographies is not easy. What are the learnings? The learnings is that what is the template? He had the challenges. Each of the challenges, he understood what the impact of these challenges are on the organization. And for each one of them, he had what? He had a certain contingency plan to be able to address it. This is the templates that you need to have. Whether you're a startup, whether you're a scale-up, some of his businesses are startups. The one he's launching in terms of new services is a startup. It's a startup within a group, but it's a startup, have the same dynamics behind it. So once you to start, it's more in terms of the process, more in terms of the structure. He has the diversity of having it across different countries. But what are the second message, beside the process, is making sure that you do it not alone. This is holistic. This is a team. This is different function. Each one have their own expertise to do it. You know, so you need to have several. So these are some of the learnings that we have. And the results, actually, if you look at the past year that have been going through, because this crisis lasted for several years, is that because of the crisis, the level of the receivables went down, the level of debt went down substantially behind it. So there was a lot of tightening that took place that make the company more resilient for whatever future growth opportunities we have. And now we're in the process of looking, okay, now that John and the team has cleaned up and streamlined the organization, what are the growth opportunities that we want to follow? One of these growth opportunities he mentioned that we have in terms of the services business, because the name of the game is not only about trading, but it's really about value-added services, and this is what the group is going. John, thank you very much for taking the time. I know how busy you are. I'll see you next week. Thank you so much. Thank you.
because he's been waiting.
Okay, mais il faut vraiment que ce soit court, ça c'est pas. Oui, okay. So what we do is we have another testimonials. I think it's important that you hear it from both sides. You hear it from our side in terms of those templates that we do, and you also hear it. So Mark
Beirut.
Okay, Mark, we're going to ask you to be short and sweet. تفضل. I know it's always a challenge, and the problem is time management that we have because we can you do this in about 5 minutes so that we give questions? No, come, because we're تفضل.
Thank you. Hi. Already أنا ما بحب أحكي كتير هيك وهلا ضغطني أنا سؤال ما في اوكي سو اسمي مارك بيروتي رح خبركم بس على السريع عني تتفهموا شو الفكره. انا بالاساس مهندس زراعي، كل عائلتي بتشتغل بالزراعه، جدي بيي اختي ستي كل الدنيا يعني. بعدين انا درست، رحت على فرنسا عملت دكتوراه ورجعت وبلشت اتعلم بالجامعه، وبعدين صار عندي بروجرام على MTV، صار لي شي 15 سنه بحكي على النباتات بالMTV وعلى الزراعه وهيك. كل ما كنت اطلع من حلقه افترضوا احكي عن شيء او حتى اكون بالجامعه يسالوني العالم وين في لاقي هذا البرودكت او هذا البرودكت او هذا البرودكت. حسيت انه ما في مطرح بلبنان في كل البرودكت يلي لها علاقه بالزراعه، essential oils، تي، كل هالاشياء بمطرح واحد. I opened my company اسمها نيتشر، مطرح ما في كل هول. هلا نحن مش دبانه بس انه عم نحكي بس الفكره يعني. هلا بس اكيد بالاول الاساس يلي هي كان شغل عائلتي قبل وهيك كان لاندسكيبينج، فنحن اعطينا كثير اهميه لللاندسكيبينج عندنا بالكومباني، واكيد ما كان بدنا بس نفتح كومباني فيها مكتب لاندسكيبينج، ما كان بدنا نكون just another landscaping company. In the company فتحنا اذا بدكم ديبارتمنت للتعليم، ليرنينج سنتر، عملنا ديبارتمنت للويدنجز، وكان عندنا شيء كثير مهم بالاساس يلي هو المونه والخضره بس فيري سمول. تخبركم لانه معنا كثير الكرايسيس كيف خلقت. نحن فتحنا ب 2016، 17 كبرنا، 18 كبرنا، 19 كانت ان اميزنج يير، واجت الثوره وبعدين شو صار. بتعرفوا لما واحد يكون عم بقول لكم قطعنا بكرايسيس. نحن وان ديبارتمنت عندنا اللي كان لاندسكيبينج كان اراوند 80% من الشركه. اند ذن بمارس 2021 او 20 سوري، هيدا رح اعطيكم هيك رقم تتفهموا شو معناتها. افترضوا هذا ديبارتمنت كان يعمل بالشهر مينتنس ولاندسكيبينج وهيك $100,000، صار هذا ديبارتمنت يعمل $1,500. when they tell you dropped 20 و30 ومدري شو، نحن نزلنا من 100,000 ل 1000. اوكي، والالف اللي اجت كانت ما بعرف كيف ما حدا بلبنان رح يشغلنا نفوت على جنينته، كانت السفاره البابويه ما تسالونا كيف يعني. اوكي، نحن انا عندي كان بوقتها 15 16 موظف، والشيفر دافير نزل 0 يعني، عرفتوا كيف؟ ثم قطع اول شهر، ثاني شهر، بالاخر وي كان نوت سستين. نحن ما عندنا شركات بالجزائر وسوريا ومدري وين، اتس اونلي من لبنان يعني. فجمعنا التيم، وفي عنا من هول ال 16 كان اراوند 8 مهندسين زراعيه مخلصين شباب كله حابب يشتغل. and we said guys it's easier انه بدنا نسكر، اللي بده يفل برات لبنان يفل، اذا بدكم تبقوا ونبقى we have to find a way together. اللي عملناه هو ما بعرف كيف طلعت معنا الديبارتمنت اللي كان عنا اياه هو المونه والخضره. اكتشفنا انه during the corona نحن بحق لنا نفتح لانه في كثير ناس كانوا مسكرين، we decided انه نصير كلنا نبيع خضره ومونه بقلب الكومباني. فل6 اشهر تقريبا كل الشباب المهندسين بالشركه صاروا هن يعبوا خضره، اثنين هن الدليفري بسياراتهم، وبلشنا. قطع اول شهر، ثاني شهر صاروا العالم يلي هن ببيوتهم عندهم مونه، عندهم خضره، مش قادرين يوصلوا يحكوا معنا. كان الشغل يصير على واتساب، ما كان عندنا ويب سايت، ما كان عندنا شيء. على اكسل يجينا 20 30 اوردر، في شباب يعدون، في ناس بالبيت يحطون وناس يعبوا ويعملوا. we kept doing هذا الشيء لشهرين 3 4 5 6، كبر. هذا ديبارتمنت كان 2% save the company اذا بدكم. فهلا نحن كمان منا دبانه، ما كان فينا مثلا نعلي السالري على الفريش ونعمل كل شيء من هول. what we did كمان قعدنا مع الشباب. what we said انه طيب انتم بالبيوت يمكن في حدا منكم مثلا ما بعرف عايزين جبنه لبنه خبار، نحن عنا اياهم. اتفقنا معهم انه كل حدا كل شيء لاهله له هول فيهم ياخذوا كل شيء من الكومباني اون كوست. شيء بحكي جد هيك عملنا، عم خبرك كيف عملنا يعني. شيء ثاني عملناه، في كثير عالم بالكورونا ما كان يقدروا ياخذوا مي على البيوت، نحن صرنا نجيب مي از كومباني، نرجع نوصل مي. عملنا هول الاشياء وي ترايد نعملهم كلهم. هلا انت خبصتني بالوقت، كنت على بالي اخبر اشياء ثانيه بس ام تراينج قد ما فيها. اوكي سو اللي صار هو بعدين اكيد كملنا هيك، صار في انفجار بيروت. وبلشوا كل العالم اذا بدكم كمان يساعدوا بيروت، اكيد كلنا كان بدنا. بس نحن كان عندنا حدا من رفقاتنا كان منه عايش ببيروت وهو كان بعكار عايش، وكان كل يوم عنده شغله الوحيد انه يوصل خضره على 3 اوتيلات ببيروت، فهذا خسر شغله. كنا قاعدين وقررنا نطلع بمبادره اسمها من كل لبنان لكل لبنان، يلي هو قلنا للعالم انه بيروت ما بدها بس باستا، وبيروت ما بدها بس والاشياء بيجوا من برا. ليه ما بنروح نحن على معكار على وين ما كان بلبنان بنعمل فيديوز مع العالم يلي هن عم ينجوا وبنشتري اغراضهم وبننزلهم على بيروت. هون بهالفتره تعرفنا على انطوني رحيل وبلشنا نشتغل سوا، صرنا نروح نعمل فيديوز يحضرونا من برا يبعثوا لنا ماني، نحن نصور لمين عم نعطيهم فيري ترانسبيرنتلي وكله محطوط على الفيديوز، وبقبيل هيدا اخذنا برسنتج كان كل حدا يبعث كمان نخبرهم. سو ات واز انذر واي كمان لنعمل هيدا الشيء. بعدين بعد فتره هيدا الشيء كبر اكثر واكثر. اذا بعطيكم، ما كنت بعرف انه في يجي باوربوينت، كنت فرجيت ارقام، كان فرجيكم قد ايه وصلنا اشياء على البيوت، خضره ومونه وكل هالاشياء، قد ايه ساهمنا يعني بهذا الموضوع. ات واز فيري بيج. مع الوقت كمان بلشنا نعمل ماركتس. حد الكومباني صار نعمل ماركتس، العالم يلي نلاقيها بالضياع نقول لهم انزلوا عرضوا اغراضكم عنا، ويجوا الناس اللي بيحضرونا على التي في كمان يشتروا الاغراض وهيك. بعدين قررنا نعمل a very big Christmas market. عملناه، كان هيوج النجاح تبعه. هيدا الشيء خلى انه عمليا فضي محل حدنا. we said انه why we don't open another company. حاليا نحن كمان صار عندنا من وراء هالكريزه ومن وراء انه صرنا ديليفريز على فتره another company اسمه Made by Nature. حاليا ب Made by Nature اذا بدكم عندنا around 700 SMEs، تقريبا 3000 عائله. نحن بنوصل لهم اغراضهم كذا مطرح بلبنان، هن مونه، هن كوزماتكس، هن ارتيزنز. هيك هلا قطعنا هول ما مخبركم على السريع، بس انه مثلا كل ما كنا نجرب نخلص من مصيبه تجي غيرها. بفتره معينه بالشارع اللي نحن فيه ما ضل في ولا كومباني غيرنا. كل الدنيا سوداء، انسرقنا 4 مرات. اضطرينا نحن نعمل اور اون سكيورتي، اور اون كاميراز، اور اون انتم كل هول قطعنا فيهم. يعني هلا اهم شيء بالنسبه لي انا انه الشيء الحلو اذا هلا عم خبر على حالي وعم برجع بقول نحن كنا بالاول 16 موظف، نحن هلا 46. ال8 9 10 اللي هن الكي تبع الشركه ولا واحد فل، بعدهم كلهم عنا. and this is amazing. ولا اكيد معاشاتهم منا مثل ما واحد معقول يكون عم بفكر، بس we managed to do كل شيء ثاني ليبقوا. وهيدا وحده اوف ذا بيجست اسيتس. هلا اوكي عم نرجع نطلع ونرجع نرجلج، ما رجعنا لل 2018 بس صفا 60 70% منه. فهيدا السيتويشن على السريع كان بدي اخبركم اكثر بس حق عليهم.
In terms of tips,
Yes.
عندك tips لهم. So what are the one or two things اللي تعلمتها أكثر شيء بهالبروسيس؟
نحن يعني بحسها كثير كليشيه، بس نحن what saved us is diversification. اوقات ديبارتمنت منه كثير انتم شايفينه انه هلا هيدا بيجيب المصاري او كذا جاب. شغله ثانيه هي ريبيوتيشن. نحن ما كنا ماني اورينتد. بالكريزه وبكل هول قلنا للكل انه مهم نداين. عملنا حيلا شيء نداين، ما قلنا لا على ولا شيء. مين ما يدق لخبريه قريبه علينا مش قريب علينا ويساد ويل دو ات. وعيطوا للتيم تبعكم، قعدوا معهم، ناقشوا معهم، اسمعوا لهم. في حدا يمكن بيبقى معكم لانه سمعتوا له مش كرمال هيك يعني. هو اللي بتصور هيك التبس الاساسيات يعني.
Very good. Look, you heard it, and it was on purpose to have a corporate approach versus the startup approach. How they face crisis. You will see that there are common themes behind it. He mentioned the diversity of it. The more diverse you have, the more spread is your risk. So you have it also in, it could be country, or it could be product, or it could be different businesses that you have. So this is the second thing he mentioned, caring for his people. The ability to retain his people. This is critical during these times. So you have to decide how do you maintain these people. So these are themes that you will find, and you have different approach, much more agile. You could move much more faster. In the other case, you have a corporation, you have organization. So it's important that you look at it in terms of the ability to be responsive, the ability to be able to move, adapt, and make the changes that you need would help you in terms of this process. Any questions that we have to Mark?
No, Where is your shop located?
لا nature is in Kaslik, made by nature is in Antilles, so now we're opening a third branch بجديدة. قلت لك بدي اخبركم اشياء بس.
No, but we will have a list of all of those speakers with contact details in case you want to reach out to them. So because each one of them has a beautiful story to tell and could be also adding value, either as advisors or others or just person that you want to brainstorm some ideas. This is a great opportunity. I think it's important and you'll have a number of those across the next 2 days. Mark, thank you very much.
Yes, yes. نحن yes, we still Yes, of course. Yes, landscaping is the champion of the company. يعني we make our money from this. بس الأشياء الثانية كنا حابينهم بالأول CSR. Made by Nature now is another company completely. فيها 12,000 SKU now. Wedding and decoration still working. Projects بنعمل workshops كل الوقت. كلهم بعد في غيرهم يعني هيدا. Yes. لا أنتوني كان يعمل سوق الأكل فل منه من زمان. So our farmers market هو إذا بدك merge بين سوق الأكل كيف كان هن وكيف نحن كان غيرنا يعني it's a new approach of doing the farmers market.
Why don't you at that time? Why didn't you look for some funds?
No, we looked. أنا ما هلا طلعت بموريس مثلا. موريس من العالم ساعدونا to get funds. So نحن بهول سوري بكمل. So بهول السنتين ثلاثة قدرنا نحصل على around مش مصاري كلهم بس around $300,000 funds. أغلبيتهم كانوا أشياء كنا عايزينها and this helped us a lot. يعني في فند واحد so مثل ما نحن we're not يعني على قدك أوقات بتساعدك. So one fund جانا it was $30,000 cash. It helped us a lot. كتبنا هلا في اوقات ربحنا فند سولار بانلز تنحطهم كان ساعدنا كثير. نحن يعني سوري بس اعطي رقم لما بخبروكم على قد ايه المازوت وهيك نحن بسنه 2021 دفعنا 40% من الشيفر دفار تبعنا مش عم خبرك من الربح على المازوت. اوكي and this killed us يعني كنا ننطر كيف هيدا اعطينا خبزنا كفايه ومنا نحن اعطينا المازوتات تبع كل يوم تندور وهيك. ربحنا سولار بانلز ما خلونا نحطه. تتخيل انه فيها كل ما بتحلها بترجع خبريه بس اهم شيء جود منتل هيلث تكمل ما تخلي ما تعطل هم وعم تحكوا كانه طلعنا من الكريزه بس
Resilience, can-do attitude, always proactive in terms of ways you could solve the problem. So this is very essential elements that you have, and this helps you, of course, in times of crisis. So the ability to be able to take the crisis and look at the opportunity that we have. And what time is it? We still have, so can we change? 7:30, okay. So where are we now in terms of the, so can you go back to the first slide on the process? Okay, so what we have done, Allah yatikun al-fafiyeh. So we covered 3 hours and a half. No, go with the one on the transformation. So what we have covered today and what we're going to cover in the one, yeah, here. Okay, so what we've gone through for each one of them, which are the templates, on the gap assessments, on the milestones, on the core competencies, the challenges, the growth opportunities, the change in the value proposition, your strategic intent. We looked at the leadership assessment. We looked at examples of balanced scorecard, templates, and the way companies were organizing it. Tomorrow, what we're going to focus on how do you build your financial model, but we're going to start first with the risk management framework. We're also going to look at your board governance, so not necessarily by order, and then we'll have financial model, the funding gap, in order to prepare ourselves for the third day, which is basically now we have the data room ready. What are we going to do in terms of mapping the investors, engaging these investors, and signing the term sheet? So this is the cycle that we are going through today. It's a lot of information that the Starabua, it's okay. Even if you got 10%, 20% of it, it's fine. Those templates will help you. The case studies that we're going to come up with and start tomorrow will also help you in terms of seeing how companies is. I prefer the case studies which are live, that what you have heard here from different people. I want to thank all of them. Elias, who was there, Rida, who is here, Mark over there. So thank you very much for this. Much appreciated. Alf Afi Elkon, Bukra Sa'a Arba'a, this room here. Thank you. And for those who did not register, if not, we will not be able to give you the information.